Good evening, everybody. Welcome to WrestleMania Quiz Night, part number 2. Thank you to all of those of you that joined us last night for our first ever 2-day WrestleMania quiz. Night 1 was the fans bring the questions, and we had some fun answering some of your questions that you gave to us. Very particularly fiendish, some of you, I would dare say, McNichol-esque at times. Hope you enjoyed that. Back to a bit more of normality tonight. It's Paul and I setting the quiz as we typically will do, but obviously it's WrestleMania themed. We will explain exactly how it's all going to work in due course. Leon Pontin has started us off with the McNichol. Good man, getting the gimmick in straight away. Matt's here, Leanne's here, Michael, Adam, Will, good evening. Malcolm's here again. Mick, Jason Butler, David Reed, Callum Christie, Chris Higgins, Josh Morley, loads of familiar faces coming in. I'll say hello to a few more people shortly. But let's say hello to our co-hosts this evening, my co-host and our other regular Hooked On crew. First of all, I have to bring on my old mate, Paul Benson. Here he is. Let's bring him in. Paul, hopefully he's got some good questions for us tonight. I believe he'd be in very serious mood. Thinking we don't have so much silliness as last night. We're going to be in the zone, thinking, serious, and taking it. Oh,
hello,
mate.
I believe we had a weather warning.
Yes, I didn't have a Benson warning, sadly. What have you got on your face?
I've got my goggles on just in case it gets really bad. I've got my bin bag and I've got my because I'm not like Smojo. I don't have a cool poncho and I've got my brolly up. It's all good. It's all good.
Yes. One, obviously, we all know that when it rains really heavily, what do we all do, folks? We reach for our sunbed goggles.
Of course we do.
That's what we do there. Who believes in bad luck stuff? There's a few people go bad luck Benson, which is says Adam Ferrand, which is a stablemate of Bad Luck Falaise, of course. And with the brolly up, and of course the bin bag, that's sweating some of the pounds off, isn't it? Some of the lockdown pounds, sweating that off.
It's going to need to be a very thick bin bag.
Before Paul is intending to head to the gym tomorrow when the gyms reopen. He's not factored in the fact that he's going to stay up until stupid o'clock today talking about WrestleMania and drinking, and then tomorrow he's going to have to go to the gym and he's going to go, not so sure. But good luck with that one.
We've got a great quiz tonight, guys. I'm really looking forward to this because this is our biggest quiz ever. 40 questions. We're going to cover every single WrestleMania during those 40 questions. It's going to be absolutely fantastic. So thank you to everyone. There's a big number of people in the room already. Thanks, everyone. We're just going to go through the rules very quickly now. I'm just going to take all this get-up off, actually. It's not raining just yet, so we'll get rid of this for now.
Shall I bring in everyone else? While you're doing that, shall I get everyone else here?
Why not?
Okay, well, thankfully not everyone is as daft as Paul. We have to bring in the man that holds everything together at Hooked On Wrestling, particularly with the quizzes. It's our official, the WWE Network Zone. Chris Hatch is up. Oh,
evening,
hello, mate. All right, your lighting's not the best. I'm going to say that. Yeah. What's going on?
Well, there's been a weather warning, and I'm just making sure I'm ready for Mania.
This is happening again. Last night, I was stitched up royally with some questions that came out of nowhere as part of some sort of pre-show thing. I mean, I got them all right and raised some money for charity. That's not the point. But it's happening again. Some sort of, organisation against me that I don't know what's going on. But yes, Callum says I've missed the memo, obviously speaking. So you're nice and dry, are you there in your little part of what part of Florida are you in? Gravesend or something?
It's a lovely park called Orpington, Florida.
Orpington, yeah. I knew it was some part. Kent and Florida are very similar, I suppose, aren't they, in terms of being in the southeast? And so you're ready for tonight, are you? There's no issues in terms of hurricanes or typhoons or any other wrestlers that might be coming through your building today?
No, I think we're all right. There's no earthquakes either, so yeah, we're all good.
Okay, so pending, there's 2 natural disasters on the screen, so I might as well bring in a third one and see how he gets on. Let's complete the trilogy of people to stitch me up this evening. Here he is, Mr. Dean Ayers. Lovely, look at that, look.
Sorry, you'll have to speak up, Rob. The wind is driving, and I can't hear you very well.
What does it say on your brolly there?
I heart Rain.
Right, yeah. I believe you have a very good friend called Rain, don't you?
John Rain, yes.
Yeah. Did he send you that?
No, but I have sent him a photo of this before. I can't shut the bloody thing. I've shut it now. But it's wild. It's wild out there here on the beach or in Shoreham by Sea. Very similar to Florida, full of old people and alligators. And that was pretty wild out there.
Well, thank you for this. I've really enjoyed this intro to the show, boys, and I've realised something else, which is a bit of a tragedy. Not only have I brought everyone onto the show and everyone stitched me up, I've also forgot to get any beer. So after I finish my soft drink, I don't have any beer. So I need to go and get some beers. Paul, you do the intro. I'll go and get some beer. Is that all right?
I will when I manage to get myself out of my bin bag. Yeah. There we go. It's so much easier looking when Hulk Hogan does it, isn't it?
I just need to clean the rain off my glasses here, man. That was wild. Can I just say sorry to everyone who was around yesterday? My internet decided to pack up in the middle of the quiz, and it packed up overnight, and I missed WrestleMania, and I had to watch it this morning.
Mate, so I can't believe Hulk Hogan pinned Sasha Banks after she defended the title in the main event. I can't believe he walked out as a WWE Women's Champion. That was never saw that coming.
After Mr. Fuji threw salt in her eyes. Yeah,
never saw that one coming. Right, guys. Just a quick welcome. I'm just going to get rid of a few turds here. We've got a few spammers, which is lovely. Yeah. But you can go away.
And we've also got weather puns with Nikki and Brie Umbrella. It's begun.
Right, I'll just thought through the rules. We've got some comments already, guys, so we'll address those in a little while and talk through everything. But just to some newbies, we'll talk about how we roll tonight, guys. So we've got a 40-question quiz. What we've done is we've gone all the way through WrestleMania from 1 to 37, and then with a few bonus questions at the end. And literally, me and Rob have alternated writing the questions. So he's written one on question 1. I've got one on question 2. Oh, look, here he is. So we've got one. So he's going to ask. So he'll ask question 1. I'll ask question 2. He'll ask question 3, etc., etc., etc. What we'll do, Rob? Can you? We're hearing some interference from your poncho, my friend. So can you just put yourself on mute for a second while I go through this? That's all right. We're going to do 40 questions. We'll ask you the question via the medium of wonderful video, and then what we'd like you to do is answer the question via direct message to our Facebook page. Okay, don't put them in the comments here. Put them via direct message, right? And I want you to test that now. We've got Chris there who's standing by at our command center. So if you send us a direct message and just say test or hello or whatever you want, he'll send you a little thumbs up back or something like that to let you know he's got your message. And that's the way you submit your answers from there on in. A little bit of housekeeping. If you could number the answers as they come in, that makes life immeasurably easier for Chris. So 1 answer, 2 answer, 3 answer, so on and so forth. And the other thing is just to submit one answer. Okay. So if you submit an answer and you realize you've got it wrong, unlucky. We only accept the first answer, so just don't bother sending again because it really messes with our system. We'll do them in blocks of 5. Again, people who play our regular quizzes will be familiar with this, but we'll do blocks of 5, and this is how we work. So we'll do 5 questions, and then we will go through the answers for those 5 questions, so you can mark your 5. But the other thing to remember is we give out bonus points as well. So you get a point for the correct answer, but the first 3 people that send in the correct answer to Chris via direct message will also get given a bonus point, and we'll hand out those bonus points at the end of each block of 5. It's really straightforward, but you'll probably need to hear us how we do it the one time at the end of the first block of 5, if that's okay. So I think that covers it. What we're going to do, we've got loads of prizes to give out tonight. As per usual, we don't give out the correct prizes to the winners of the quiz. That's pretty boring. The quiz is just for fun and a laugh. What we'll do is every 5 questions, we'll give out a prize. We'll pick someone at random who's answered all 5 of the questions from the previous round. Doesn't matter whether it's correctly, incorrectly, whether you've passed. As long as you've made an attempt on an answer, then you'll be in the draw. I think I've covered it there, haven't I, guys? Is that good for the quiz?
Yep.
Fantastic. And then afterwards, what we're going to do, a few people have mentioned WrestleMania to us already. We've got loads to talk about with you guys about WrestleMania. It's such a fascinating show in so many ways. So what we're going to do, we're not shying away from spoilers or anything like that. But at the end of the quiz, we'll stick around and we will be doing a proper sort of debrief on WrestleMania. We'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Then, if you can stick around, and we'll really go into the weeds on WrestleMania last night, because there's so much to talk about. So with that in mind, are you ready to rock, Rob? Are you ready?
Sorry, I forgot I'd muted myself because it's very difficult. Do you remember when Michael Cole was in his little what did he call it, his little coal mine, and he found it difficult to broadcast? I can understand how they struggled with this thing last night. It's do you want to have a little look at it? It's well put together. I keep this in the back of my car just in case of emergencies. And obviously tonight was one of those. So
excellent.
Can I take it off because it's horrible?
You most certainly can, because it's also interfering with your sound, which is driving me insane.
This will be for emergencies when Rob is out in all weathers commentating on the adventures of Plymouth Argyle, I would imagine.
We've already got the puns coming in. Again, those people who've not played with us before, you'll pick up. We ask you to. We go through all sorts of silliness throughout the night, but we'll be doing puns on this, that, and the other. Join in on the comments. Just don't put your answers in the comments, but everything else, let's have a conversation. Get to know us all. We're all, there's a good bunch of regulars. We have some good guys, and we've seen a load of new. Some just to pick out a few people I've seen already that joined us for the first time. Cameron Khan, Jamie, I know was on last night. Jamie Chin. We've got Jay Waldo, who's been with us a couple of times now, but he's pretty new. Ross Cumming. Hello, Ross. How you doing? And there's a few other new names that we'll say hello to as we go along. But Chris, can we start yet, or are you still prepping? No, we can start. So, as is customary, we're going to start tonight. Oh, Rob's gone. We are going to start tonight.
I thought I'd do a. So the weather front is coming from here, and it's going
right.
across Georgia and into Tampa, and it's going to be going out that way. Yeah, so.
Cool. Right. Well, let's get on with this quiz. These good people didn't come for Michael Fish. They came for some quizzing. So let's give him it.
Michael Fish, he's one of the Undisputed Era, isn't he?
That's right. Yeah. Bobby's brother.
Yeah. Lovely stuff. So is it me to start?
Yeah. You've done WrestleMania 1, haven't you? So it's you to start.
Indeed. So if everybody is ready, our march through WrestleManias begins here. So I didn't think it would be me without starting with an absolute beast of a question. Not all of mine are like this. I promise you, you do not have 20 questions of this kind of stuff. But here's a nice one to sort the wheat from the chaff nice and early on. Question number 1. There were 11 people who won matches at WrestleMania 1. Only one of them is not in the Hall of Fame. Name them. There were 11 people who won matches at WrestleMania 1. Only one of them is not in the Hall of Fame.
What a cracking question. Guys, what you'll find on these questions as well, there's a mix of tough questions, easier questions, convoluted questions. That we've tried to really sort of spread the knowledge across. So they're not all really hard, but also they're not all super easy either. So everyone should find some of these challenging. That's a really good question. What we'll do now, again, just for the newbies, Rob will ask that question. We'll chit chat for a minute or so, give you guys a chance to submit your answer. Then I'll have a guess of the answer. Not to say I'll get it right or wrong. In fact, more likely to get it wrong in this case, but we'll see how we go. Right. I am going to attempt an answer though. Just because I know he wrestled at WrestleMania 1 and I know he's not in the Hall of Fame. I don't know whether he won or not, but I'm going to say Matt Bourne.
Okay.
I would think, I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame or not. Tito Santana, is he in the Hall of Fame? I think he wrestled on them 1, but I don't know if he's in the Hall of Fame or not.
He is.
No, we're not going to. I was just about to say, well, we'll not reveal with either man is right for the time being to maintain the jeopardy, and in goes Paul. So there's question 1, and now this is unusual. Normally we stay on the question setter for 5 questions, but in this case, I'm going to tag straight over to my man there.
Okie doke. Right. Paul. Question 2 is about WrestleMania 2. We're going up in order, makes it nice and straightforward. So, WrestleMania 2 was famously held in 3 separate venues, but I want you, for the point, to name 2 of the 3 states that WrestleMania 2 took place in. Okay, so WrestleMania 2 took place over 3 venues across 3 different states. Name me 2 of those states for the point. And obviously, just on your answer, just name 2 states, because you could name like 10, and you'd get likely to get a couple right. But just name 2 states, even if you know all 3. Just name 2.
Yeah, the general rule is if you do more than the stipulated amount, in some quizzes they'll be harsh and give you nothing at all. I don't think we'd be that harsh, but I think what we would do is we'd take the first 2. So if you listed all 50, we'd take the first 2 as your answer. That's what I would tend to do anyway.
Splendid.
I think I know this. I think I know all 3 of them. And worth pointing out, to reiterate the question, there, states rather than cities.
Absolutely, states. Why don't you give us 2 then, Rob, and then Dean can try and mop up the 3rd.
Okay. Well, I will say that one of them is California, and another one is Illinois.
Okay.
And they were the 2 that I was going to go for. Okay, so we've got a 3rd one. It's going to be big cities. Number 1 was WrestleMania 1 was Madison Square Garden, wasn't it? So I don't think they'd have gone back to New York again. Or did they? Without any confidence at all, let's say New Jersey then.
New Jersey, right. Okay, question number 3, please, Rob.
Yes, of course. This is gonna take a bit of time to get used to, isn't it? Going backwards and forwards. Number 3. Which rock star was in the corner of Jake the Snake Roberts at WrestleMania 3?
Okay, I do know this one.
Which rock star was in the corner of Jake the Snake Roberts at WrestleMania 3?
I know this one, but just so everyone can have some thinking and answering time, just so, again, for the benefit of the newbies, this is something for the last year we've done every Sunday night at 8:00. We normally do a 20-question quiz, but we're extending it for WrestleMania, and we've built up a great bunch of guys who do this with us on a regular basis. Every week we give away a T-shirt from WWE Euroshop to one of the random players. So it's great fun. It's a great way to spend a Sunday night, make some new friends, some wrestle friends, and do a bit of quizzing. So we don't take it too seriously. It's just a bit of a laugh. But we if you enjoy it tonight, stick with us every Sunday night without fail. There's of the 4 of us you're seeing tonight, it's usually 2 of the 3 or 2 or 3 of us. But there's always someone here doing the do. Right, I think I've done enough stalling there. So I am going to give my answer. It's Alice Cooper.
Dean, do you concur?
I do indeed. I do indeed concur with Alice Cooper. Yeah.
Okay, right. For this question, I'm sorry, I'm going to exclude you on this one, Dean. I just want Rob to give an answer on this one, just so we're not sort of showing workings out and stuff. So, question 4 about WrestleMania 4: how many men who took part in the first round of the WWF Championship tournament at WrestleMania 4 held the WWE Championship at some point in their career?
Oh, what a nice question.
So how many men who took part in the first round of the WWF Championship tournament held the WWF Championship at some point in their career? So by that, I obviously mean, the WWF Championship, the big belt. They could have won it before the WrestleMania 4, they could have won it after WrestleMania 4, it doesn't matter, but they just held it at some point during their career. How many men who took part in that tournament first round?
You mean they could have potentially held the Winged Eagle belt?
Yeah, any version of, even if they're active today, for instance, it could be the Universal title. You know what I mean? Any version of that top world title.
Yeah, anyone that's stipulated as a world champion, but specifically in WWE.
Correct. Yeah. Luke says he's terrible with these early manias, mate. Well, you're going to find it easier and easier as we get through. I'd be the same, to be honest. This is not my area of expertise, but
we're all
coming into it.
Hot spells, aren't we? In terms
we
of,
are
in
indeed
terms of WrestleMania.
You'll discover exactly when my concussions start kicking in, when I'm going, no idea.
Yeah. I'll be all right up until about question 26, I think, and then at the end of it, the last 10, I'll just be going, I don't know.
Well, when you give me your answer on this, Rob, I'm going to ask you not to tell me, don't discuss your workings, just give me a number.
Okay. Can Can you read the question again? Can you word the question again?
Yep. The question is, how many men who took part in the first round of the WWF Championship tournament at WrestleMania 4 held the WWF Championship at some point in their career?
I'm trying to picture the the graphic, what do you call it? The brackets. Right, okay. I am going to go for. I might do a principle that I did last night, actually, which I worked out a certain amount and then added one, assuming I would have forgotten one. So I may do that again. Should I do that again, or should I go with what I think it is? No, okay, I'm going to go with what I think it is. I'm going to say 4.
You're going to say 4, are you? Okie doke. Right. That's question. What was that? That was question 4. So we're going to go the last question of the round before we break it down. So I think it's your question to me, isn't it? Question 5.
Yes, it is. So WrestleMania 5. There was no women's match on WrestleMania 5, but what role did the women's champion at the time, Rockin' Robin, have on the show? So there was no women's match on WrestleMania 5. What role did the women's champion at the time, Rockin' Robin, have on that show?
Okay.
That's my question for number 5.
WrestleMania 5 was a good WrestleMania, wasn't it? I just watched that the other day, actually. And it was a cracking wrestling show, wasn't it?
Was it? I sort of really think that, apart from the spectacle of WrestleMania 3, I don't really like any of the single-digit WrestleManias. I think the first really good WrestleMania is WrestleMania 10. Yeah.
Goodness me, I could not disagree with you more on that one, mate.
I would disagree too. I think 6 is great for the main event. 8 is a wonderful WrestleMania. 9 was a bit pants, I'll give you that, yeah. And 7 wasn't that great. But yeah, 5 had tons of matches packed into it, so it was just fast moving all the time.
It was great fun, wasn't it? It was great fun. Okay, so right, so that's question 5. We're done. I need to give you an answer, and my answer is she sang "America the Beautiful."
Okay, Dean, you happy with that as well?
Yeah, that's what I would have guessed at.
Right then, that's the 5. If Hatch is ready, we'll bring him on to do some bonus. Let's explain just while Chris is just finalising, because we have a few more people tonight, so he's got a bit more work to do. It's worth mentioning. So what we're about to do, you will have your. Oh no, we've got to do our scores first. We've got to do the proper scores first, haven't we?
Go through the answers first. Yeah.
I'm losing my track. Okay, let's do the answers to those 5. So the first one was my one. WrestleMania 1. 11 people who won matches at WrestleMania 1. Which one of them is not in the Hall of Fame? Paul, you said.
I said Matt Bourne.
Yeah, I don't think he won his match. If indeed he was on number 1. Dean, you said Tito.
Yeah, Matt Bourne was on number 1, but I don't know if he won or not.
I don't think he won the match. The answer is King Kong Bundy.
Wow. Okay.
Oh, okay. I didn't know. I couldn't remember he was on one. Fair enough.
King Kong Bundy. It was the famous 20-second match against, was it SD Jones?
SD Jones, yeah.
No.
Michael Phoenix has just said Matt lost to the Dragon, so Ricky Steamboat.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so that's the King Kong Bundy answer to number 1. Number 2, Paul.
Number 2. So, number 2, the question I asked was, name 2 of the 3 states that hosted a portion of WrestleMania 2. Rob went with California and Illinois, both of which were correct. So if you put those 2, you get the point. Dean went with New Jersey. He was wrong on that.
I think he was New York.
But he wasn't far wrong. It was New York. Uniondale, New York. So any 2.
Right.
So if you've put any 2 of New York, Illinois, and California, you get the point.
Indeed. Number 3, the rock star that was in the corner of Jake the Snake Roberts at WrestleMania 3. He'll be watching the US Masters right now. Big golf fan more than he's a wrestling fan, but he was Alice Cooper. I know Alice Cooper was the name of the band first, so if you want to be technical, Vincent Fernier is the name of the person, but everyone knows him as Alice Cooper. So Alice Cooper is the answer.
Was that really? I didn't know that. I thought his name was, in fact, Alice Cooper.
The band there was a band called Alice Cooper, in the same way that there's a band called Biffy Clyro or Jethro Tull or something like that. That's the name of the band and not the individual. He was the front man of Alice Cooper, the band, but then when he went solo, he just carried on calling himself Alice Cooper. So.
Oh, okay. I knew his real name was Vincent Fernier. I didn't know that about the band. There you go. You learn something new every day.
Yeah, you don't learn anything here about wrestling. You do, however, learn about 1980s rock stars.
Okie doke. Right. Question number 4. I said to you, of all the men that took part in the first round of the WWF Championship tournament at WrestleMania 4, how many of them held the WWF Championship at one point in their career? I'll be honest.
Right.
I've been very tricksy on this question.
Right. I think you have as well. I'll show my working, and I decided to treat it as a straight answer, but I think it might be something different. So I went for 4, and I thought that those 4 might be Hogan, Andre, Warrior, and Savage, right? And there might have been one extra that I hadn't thought of, but I went with those 4. However, I'm not sure about how the bracket worked. I'm not sure Hogan and Andre were in the first round.
Yeah, absolutely right. Hogan and Andre were not in the first round.
I was also going to ask about how you're treating Ted DiBiase winning the belt and handing it over to Andre and Andre being stripped. Do they count as people who held the belt?
We'll find out now,
I'm telling you, I'm treating it the same way that WWE treats it in their official lineage, in that Andre was champion, Ted DiBiase never was.
Correct.
So Andre, if he'd have been in the first round, would have counted. DiBiase was in the first round, but doesn't. The answer is, in fact, 1.
It's only Savage.
Randy Savage is the only one in that first round who won the WWF Championship at any point during their career. Warrior wasn't in the tournament, and Hogan and Andre both started in the second round. So the answer is 1. So well done if you put that.
So 1 is the answer. Nice question, by the way. Lots of little tricksy levels to it. I did think that there was an issue about the first round thing, but I kind of played straight with it because I didn't want to be smart and go, I think it's 2. I know I would have still got it wrong, but it would have looked like I was being a bit of an arse. Question number 5. There was no women's match on WrestleMania 5. What did Rockin' Robin, the women's champion at the time, do? Paul and Dean both agreed that she sung America the Beautiful. That is the correct answer. I did have a chat pre the quiz with our official adjudicator, our official, Chris Hatch, and we have agreed that if you said she sung the national anthem, you can have a point. Technically speaking, America the Beautiful isn't the national anthem. It is a different song, but you would essentially know what her role was on the show. So we have agreed that if you said a national anthem or America the Beautiful, you can have the point.
Cool. Okay. So that is the first 5 questions of the quiz. And now, as we mentioned, we're going to bring the Hatchman in. Hello, matey. How you doing?
Yeah, good. Now I've got a bit of a handle on getting through so many answers. We've probably got about half again on top of the numbers we normally have in. So it's a rather busy night, as you'd expect for WrestleMania.
Fantastic. So just before Chris gives out the bonus points, just to explain it. So Chris is going to read out a bunch of names and a bunch of numbers. So for instance, if Chris said Dean AS 3, okay, that means he's got 3 bonus points. So let's say, for argument's sake, Dean had answered 4 of them correctly. That'd be 4 correct answers plus the 3 bonus points that Chris reads out. 7 points in total. So if Chris reads your name and a number, that is just your bonus points, not the correct answer. So add the 2 together and you'll get your actual score for the round. So Chris, with that in mind, the floor is yours.
Bonus points we've got for that round are Jason Butler 3, Mick Conley 3, Leanne Culverhouse 2, Nicholas Bowater 2, Lee Lower 1, Matt Barber 1, Michael Phoenix 1, Tom Birtles 1, and Will Kitchen 1. That's Jason Butler 3, Mick Conley 3, Leanne Culverhouse 2, Nicholas Bowater 2, Lee Lowell 1, Matt Barber 1, Michael Phoenix 1, Tom Birtles 1, and Will Kitchen 1.
Good stuff. Look at that. Jason Butler, first time at the quiz, sneaks in with 3 bonus points in the first round. Well done there, mate. Right, okay, we'll go into round number 2, and starts with...
Let me just explain about the bonuses first, just to double down. I know we've already mentioned it, but how those bonuses work. You mentioned, Paul mentioned Jason there. Jason scored 4 out of 5 in that round. He's told us on the screen. But you will have heard Chris read out that he scored 3 bonus points. So when Chris said 3, that is not him scoring Jason 3 out of 5. That is him saying his bonuses. So Jason's running total is 4 out of 5 plus his 3 bonuses. So he actually has 7 so far. So that is an excellent score from him. So you add up however many out of the 5 that you got, and then you add up however many bonuses you got that was read out. Nick, as Nick's just pointed out, I mean, are you doing it wrong? No, Nick, if your name wasn't read out, it just simply means you didn't get any bonus points. You just need to be a little bit quicker, my friend. So if, for example, you got 3 out of the 5 correctly, you're marking your own score. You've got 3, but it just means you don't have any bonuses on top. I'm sure as the night goes on, you'll get a bit quicker, and your name will certainly be read out with a few bonuses.
One thing we did forget that we're going to do before we move on to the next round is give out our first spot prize. Oh, yeah. We have actually got, I'm just counting them down now, so we'll do whatever we can't get through during the rounds. At the end, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We've got 8 prizes to give out tonight. We've got a whole bunch of WrestleManias. We've got what we've got here. I've dug this out from WWE home video. We've got 30 years of SummerSlam DVD set to give away, and we've got an Intercontinental title mini belt. It's the old Attitude Era version with that the Rock held. We've got that to give away as well, and we'll give that away last right at the end. So we're doing it randomly. We're giving these out. We're giving these out randomly as we go. Chris has already done the draw, and this one is for WrestleMania 14. So if you're a winner, what I'll ask you to do, we're going to need your address to send to, but don't send us it till after the quiz, otherwise it'll just get lost in the answers. So when the quiz is over, send us your address on a DM and we'll get all these out to you. But the winner of the WrestleMania 14 DVD, as Chris has just texted me, is Callum Christie. So well done, Callum. You are our first prize winner of the evening.
He's actually asked. I was going to say, can I get a point as a prize? So it's your call, Callum. You can either have the DVD or a point. I think I know what one you'll go for.
So you've got the time it takes for the board to revolve, and what you would.
Right, good stuff. Right, well, let's get into that next round then. So I am going to start with the question on WrestleMania 6.
Yep.
Let me just get my questions up again. Okay. WrestleMania 6. Which team won WrestleMania's shortest ever tag team match at this event? Which team won WrestleMania's shortest ever tag team match at this event?
Crikey, because I know of a very short match at a WrestleMania that's quite near to this one. So,
Benson packs away his cagoule.
Cagoule, mate, you're giving me far too much credit. It's literally a bin bag with 3 holes cut in it.
Have you still got the Bono swimming goggles?
Stop it, you two.
Oh, dear me. Dear me.
Hey, Bono, who do you think is going to win the triple threat tonight?
The Edge.
Yay!
Right, okay. So let's have an answer. I'm going to go to Dean on this one first, actually, if that's okay. We'll swap it around a little bit.
I am reasonably confident on this one because I'm like Rob. I'm thinking of a very short tag match around about this time. I'm not 100% confident that it is this one, but I'm reasonably confident. I think it was the Hart Foundation against the Bolsheviks, and it was something like 19 seconds. They basically gave them the heart attack while they're still in their jackets. So I'm going to say that's going to be my answer.
Okay, Rob, do you have anything to contend to that?
No, I didn't have anything at all. I was just trying to try and think of a tag team of the era. So I didn't have anything in my mind. So the fact that Dean has said that, I will happily back him up.
Okay, just a quick reminder before we go on to question 7. Chris has asked us to remember to number your answers, please. If you don't number your answers, you're not eligible for bonus points. That's our little rule to make things easier for our quiz master in the background. So please number those answers.
It's actually a little bit easier to remember the number tonight because it's the number of WrestleMania. So
can't be that hard.
Often it's quite hard to work out how many questions we've done, but tonight we're doing it in terms of manias. And we've kicked off the first pun topic of the evening, lads. If you're paying attention, for those of you that are brand new, something that I don't think we even started it. I think the people, the hookers that are out there, started their own thing of doing. It's a wrestling term, Dean. So the hookers out there decided to start doing their own puns on various different things. So tonight's pun topic appears to be quiz shows. I thought it was going to go down a darts route actually when I first mentioned Bullseye, but it's gone into game shows. So keep those coming. Right, let's go with question number 7 for WrestleMania 7, and it's a fashion question, which we don't do a lot of on this quiz. But in terms of colour and pattern, describe Miss Elizabeth's top at WrestleMania 7.
What?
I know this image is ingrained in my mind, which sounds a bit dodgy.
I tested this on 3 people, and all of them got it. So,
I mean, I think I can get it, but it's just such a random question. It's hilarious.
it's not random. It's the opposite of random.
No, you're right. It's not random.
You
hate the way I use that, don't
question.
you?
Yeah.
What I love, though, is out of all the things that happened at WrestleMania 7, the questions about what was Elizabeth wearing. But it's an iconic moment.
I will say
the iconic moment.
This is the only question. Paul and I write our questions separately. We don't know each other's questions. We send them to Chris, and Chris will say if there's any duplicate. And Chris did say, actually, please change your WrestleMania 7 question. And so I have them. So here's my second choice question.
Oh, Rob has gone.
He's gone full AS.
He's gone full AS. Right. Well,
I'd now. Oh, I've got it. It was me first tonight, Dean.
Right. Well, let's
first internet blip of the evening.
Let's give my answer to that one. And I believe Miss Elizabeth top that night was a sparkly black top with silver stars, large silver stars on there.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly what I was going to say. Oh, well, I thought it was white, but white, silver. Yeah, it's that is the image.
Okie doke. Right, question number 8. Have a guess which WrestleMania this one's for. That's right. My favorite 90s WrestleMania, this one. If you're not familiar with our How Mania pod, it's our weekly 90s wrestling podcast. And we gush over this WrestleMania on a regular basis. So at WrestleMania 8, of all the people who wrestled on the card at WrestleMania 8, one of them wrestled in their solitary WrestleMania match on that card. Okay, so everyone apart from one person wrestled at more than one WrestleMania.
Really?
One person wrestled at WrestleMania 8, and that was their only WrestleMania. Name that person.
Do you know what we've not talked about? Because it's not really been applicable up until now. But what we've not talked about, I don't believe, unless you did it while I was off getting my beer and cagoule, is at least for my questions are WrestleMania main show questions.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
So I at no point have included dark matches, pre-show matches, anything like that. So all of my questions are main show WrestleMania matches. And Paul, it seems, is agreeing with me. So for example, I could imagine the answer I'm going to give you in a minute might well have worked a dark match at another WrestleMania, but that wouldn't count. It would need to be WrestleMania main show.
Yeah, just to clarify that. So if we talk about an opening match at any point during this, we mean the first match on the WrestleMania broadcast. So for instance, I know it's not really applicable last night, but the opening match would have been McIntyre against Lashley. If Drew Gulak could have fought Cedric Alexander on the pre-show, that wouldn't have counted.
Yeah, indeed.
It's those two. And also when we talk about main events, we specifically mean the last match on the card. So, whatever that might be, if it's the last match on the card, it's the main event in the context of this quiz. So, give us your answer then, Rob.
I haven't gone through the entire Mania 8 card in my head because I thought of a match quite quickly and I've decided to go with that because I can't think of this person wrestling another match. So I'm going to say Skinner.
The Alligator Man.
Yeah, that is exactly what I was thinking, and that it was really funny. That came straight into my head. The only doubt in my mind, and obviously we'll find out when we get to the answers. I'm now wondering because Steve Kern did work for the WWE as an agent for a long time. I'm now wondering if Skinner was on the gimmick battle royal at WrestleMania 17. If he was, that throws that answer out. But if he wasn't, then I would be absolutely agreeing with you, Rob.
He wasn't. Maybe he was. I don't think he was. I think he actually might have been in the gimmick battle royal that they did on Raw a few years later.
He was.
I don't think he was in the one at WrestleMania. And I would also have thought. I don't think it applies in this case, but Paul, just in case, that if, for example, Steve Kern was the man inside the kimchi costume in that WrestleMania, which I think actually was Steve Lombardi, but if it had been Steve Kern, that still wouldn't matter, would it? Skinner is the gimmick. That is a different thing.
Correct. So that's question 8. So question number 9, the penultimate question of the round, please, Rob.
Yes, okay. So WrestleMania 9, I know this is a big favourite of yours, Paul. So I've had to up my game for WrestleMania 9.
I like to consider myself the world's foremost WrestleMania 9 expert. Yeah. It's fairly niche knowledge base, that, isn't it? I haven't worked out how to monetize it yet.
The other 7.1 billion people on Earth don't give a fuck about WrestleMania 9. It's only you and Ash Rose that care about it.
Fair point.
And possibly the bloke that trained the camel and the elephant. Number 9. Only 2 wrestlers that had official matches on the televised WrestleMania 9 card were not born in the United States of America. Name them. I want both of them. Only 2 wrestlers that had official matches on the televised WrestleMania 9 card were not born in the United States of America. Please name them. I'm going to go to Dean first. Obviously, we'll give everyone a minute. I'm not going to go straight to them. But when we do the answers, I'm going to go to Dean first.
I've got one straight away, and I'm now trying to go through the Rolodex in my head of who else was on that show.
Do you know what? In hindsight,
of course, yes.
I should have asked this question the way that you asked the WrestleMania 4 one, I think. I should have said how many. I should have said how many rather than name them.
By the way, just in terms of the new names, I just want to give a shout out to John Callahan, I think it's his first quiz he mentioned with us tonight. John is an absolute devil at our regular quizzes when we all get together in bars. He's a regular winner, does really well. So, John, it's great to see you, mate. I hope you can join us a bit more often. And more importantly, hope to get to see you in a bar soon, which is what we're all looking for, isn't it? SummerSlam. But go on, Dean, give us your answer then, mate.
Right, so he said there's 2 people born outside the United States. The first one that sprang to my mind straight away, because I think it was his only WrestleMania, born in Argentina, Giant Gonzalez. And then I was racking my brain thinking who else, and then I've realised it's staring me in the face. It's the obvious one. It's Bret Hart, born in Canada.
Paul, do you agree?
No.
Oh.
No. It's Shawn Michaels, born in England.
Okay. Question number 10.
I could have got that completely wrong, and I could have egg on my face, but he might have just grown up in England, but who knows? But if not, it's obviously Bret. Who knows?
Question 10.
Oh, that's me, isn't it?
Sure.
That's me. Right, question 10. Dead simple one, this one. Going into WrestleMania 10, so, forget what happened at the event, but going into WrestleMania 10, who were the tag team champions? Going into WrestleMania 10, who were the WWF tag team champions? Cameron, I'm doubting myself now, mate. Shawn Michaels is from a military family, and if he wasn't born in England, he certainly spent a chunk of his early childhood here. I'm racking my brains on that one now. He lived near Reading for a period of time.
Or he could have been born on like a German Air Force base as well. But I'm sure Bret. I'm sure Bret was born in
you're probably right, and we'll find out after this next question, won't we?
I know what the tag team title match was at WrestleMania 10. I'm just trying to work out who came in with the belts. I think I have it. Just say the question again.
Dead simple. Who came into WrestleMania 10 as tag team champions? There's no trickery. There's no question trickery on that one. No sleight of hand. It's as simple as it sounds.
Okay, you let me know when you'd like an answer. Like I said, I would expect myself to. We should have done Joker things where we get an extra bonus points for a specific WrestleMania.
Go for it now. Give us your answer.
I believe it was the Quebecers.
The Quebecers. Okie doke. Some brilliant puns coming in, by the way. Just to highlight a few. The Crystal Maze from Malcolm Marr. Absolutely.
There's one you highlighted earlier of Only Connect, which I thought was brilliant.
Only connects us.
No,
Brilliant.
Dean's
This
right.
one's-
Only as in Only Lorcan.
Yeah, go. Adam
yes,
Ferrand, only
yes.
connect, yeah. And strike
This is-
it, Rich Swan.
This is my favourite, my personal favourite. Jeopardilo Brown. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
There was also Bargain Hunter Hurst Helmsley from somebody.
Fantastic.
And I'm just trying to find it here.
Could have been The Bar, of course, The Bargain Hunt.
Every second fast counts by from Adam Pearson.
Love it.
Mick Conley, is Mick Conley on the rum tonight? That's what I want to know.
Right.
Oh,
Is Mick Conley on the run? Let's go for it. So who's it's me first, isn't it, with WrestleMania 6? Right. Okay. So I asked you who won at WrestleMania 6 the fastest tag team match, or the quickest tag team match, or the shortest tag team match, whatever you want to put it, in WrestleMania history. You guys both concurred that it was the Hart Foundation.
Well,
and you were absolutely right. You were dead right to do so. It was the Hart Foundation.
Yeah, Dean's answer, I'll give him certainly some credit for that. And I only realised too late that the question that I was asked to change by Chris involved the Hart Foundation, so that's why he wanted me to change it, because there was 2 in a row. I was a bit slow on the uptake there, but I changed it and I said, in terms of colour and pattern, can you describe Miss Elizabeth's top at WrestleMania 7? I have that it was black with white stars, but I think it might have been silver. I think either is fine. I think we're not going to be forensic on exactly what Pantone colour Miss Elizabeth's stars were. So I was be very kind to yourselves there, folks. If you had any combination of black and white stars, etc., judge yourselves. Don't be too harsh, but don't just give yourselves anything.
I've just got to give you a little story now. You know, it's just struggling to work out which way to point there. So, for anybody who was on last night, we had my boy Samuel on for a little bit of the WrestleMania stream early on, and we did his bit and stuff. And then this morning, do you know what he turned to me and said this morning? He goes, "Daddy, what you need to when you do something on the screen, it works the opposite way on the feed, doesn't it?" I goes, "Yeah." Bear in mind he's 7. He goes, "You need to reverse it. You need to change the mirroring on that and change it. I can show you how to do that if you want." I'm like, "Oh my God, I'm old." And he probably could. But anyway, we're on question number 8 now, aren't we? Question number 8 for WrestleMania 8, and I asked you of all the men, because there were no women on the card, of all the men wrestling on the card at WrestleMania 8, who was the only one who was wrestling in their sole WrestleMania match at WrestleMania 8, and that was correctly guessed by our guys. It was Skinner. I went off his Pro Fight DB. I don't know who was under the Doink face paint at 17, but it wasn't him.
It was Matt Bourne.
No, was it really?
Yeah, Matt Bourne came back for WrestleMania 17.
Goodness me, that's interesting. Just seen Sarah ask the answer to question 6. Sarah, the answer to question 6 was the Hart Foundation, as Adam's quite kindly pointed out there. Cool. Okay, so that's it. Skinner is the answer to question 8. Question number 9, Rob, which I think I've got wrong.
Only 2 wrestlers that had official matches on the televised WrestleMania 9 card were not born in the USA. One of them, born in Argentina, was the Giant Gonzalez, and the other one, born in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, was Bret the Hitman Hart. I did go through everybody that was on that card to check, because I thought some people might say either the Head Shrinkers or Yokozuna, all of whom were born in California. But as far as I recall, Shawn Michaels was born in Arizona.
Yep, just looking up here, Chandler, Arizona, USA. So, then, raised in a military family, spent a brief part of his early years in Reading, Berkshire, but grew up in San Antonio. Yeah.
There we go. Right. And to finish off the round before we go to bonus points and the next spot prize. Next spot prize, by the way, is WrestleMania 16 on DVD. So you might want to hide yourselves on this one. This is kind of the booby prize. I'm sure WWE home video would love me saying that. but it is my least favorite WrestleMania of all time. Anyway, this is question 10. I asked you who were the tag team champions going into WrestleMania 10. Rob said he knew it was one of 2 teams. Presumably you remember the tag team title match was the Quebecers against Men on a Mission. And you said it was you said it was the Quebecers.
I seem to recall that the finish was the Quebecers either getting counted out or DQ'd or something like that. But Men on the Mission got hold of the belts and were sort of posing with the belts, even though they hadn't won. So that suggests to me that it must have been the Quebecers coming in.
It was indeed. No question trickery at all. The Quebecers, the most underrated tag team of all time, were the tag team champions going into that WrestleMania. So that concludes.
Of course, they had swapped the tag belts with Men on a Mission a couple of weeks previously on the UK tour, which wasn't meant to happen, but was where Mabel landed a bit too hard on one of them, knocked the wind out of him, and he couldn't kick out in time. Yeah. So they did a title change by mistake.
Fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
I don't think that's officially credited, though, is it? That's a tale.
No, it absolutely is. Yep.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah. That is canon. Right. So let's bring the Hatchmeister General in for some bonus points, and then I've got a name for the next prize. So Hatchman.
Cool. So bonus points for that set of 5. We've got Adam Ferran 3, Jason Butler 3, Nicholas Bowater 3. Mick Conley 2, Matt Barber 1, Michael Phoenix 1, Benjamin Harris 1, and Tom MK 1. That's Adam Ferran 3, Jason Butler 3, Nicholas Bowater 3, Mick Conley 2, Matt Barber 1, Michael Phoenix 1, Benjamin Harris 1, and Tom MK 1.
Wow, Jason is really setting the pace with that one. So, guys, let us know what you got for that round. Stick your scores in the comments. We are now quarter of the way through the quiz, and we have just hit the point where it all begins again, according to WWE. So with that in mind, we're going to give away WrestleMania 2000 now. This is a prize kindly donated by WWE Home Video. This is one of 5 WrestleManias that has just been re-released on DVD. They've had rights issues for years. It's not been available in the UK for a long time. It's the 5 we're giving away here. And the winner for WrestleMania 2000 is Nick Stephen Brown. So well done, Nick. I don't think I've seen you play before. You're winning on your debut. So like I say, just bung us your address after we've finished the quiz. So we can get that to you in the next few days. Right. We're on to question 11 now then, aren't we? So, and just before we do, Tom, it's speed in answering, mate. So the quicker you answer, the more likely you are to get bonus points. The first 3 people who sending an answer to Chris, for every one correct answer that is, will get the bonus point for that question. And Callum, you just send your address details via DM after this quiz, please. I've got a note of all the winners anyway, so I'll chase up any that don't send it. Don't worry about that. But let's go to WrestleMania 11 and go to Rob.
Yeah, indeed. I'm going to agree with a couple of people. I'm not going to go as far as Francis to say it was great, but I agree. Who was it? Someone said earlier on that it was Jay Waldo. There he is. About WrestleMania 2000. I agree. I don't think it was that bad. I think it's a letdown of a main event, but I don't think it's a terrible show at all. It's not great, but it's okay. Question 11 then. A very similar question to one that Paul asked earlier on, but it's just for one venue, not 3. So in which state did WrestleMania 11 take place? In which state did WrestleMania 11 take place? Don't say terrible. You might have a point, but you won't get any points, if you see my point.
In which state did WrestleMania 11 take place? Oh, goodness me.
I might ask Dean to go this one because I know how much he likes the number 11.
I'm trying to think. It was somewhere up in the northeast, like with their like traditional, like Gateshead or Sunderland. They're traditional sort of places, and it wasn't a big place.
WrestleMania 38 in Darlington.
I'm trying to. It's something in the back of my head is telling me Connecticut. Telling me.
Don't say it, Rob.
Something's saying Connecticut because that's their home state, of course. But I don't know if there's been a WrestleMania there. But maybe there was. That's my guess, and it is without any confidence.
Do you want to give that answer?
That would be my answer.
Paul?
That would have been my answer too, actually. Again, similarly with lacking in confidence, but that would have been my pick.
Okie dokie. So that's what you're going for. Question 12, over to you.
Okay, question. My computer's just having a little bit of a moment. I hope you can still see me. Or at least hear me. So, question number 12. 3 former WWF champions wrestled their final WrestleMania at WrestleMania 12. Name all 3. So there were 3 men on WrestleMania 12 who would have all been WWF champions at some point in their career who wrestled their final WrestleMania at WrestleMania 12. And I would like you to name all 3 of those for the point, please. Okay.
I'm not sure I can name any. WrestleMania 12?
WrestleMania 12.
3 former champions.
3 former champions wrestled at WrestleMania 12 as their last WrestleMania. So there were more than that. There were more than 3 WWF champions that wrestled at the event. But 3 of the former WWF champions wrestled at WrestleMania for the last time at WrestleMania 12. And I'd like you to tell me who they were, please.
Well, it's got to be him. While I'm thinking, why don't you plug the article that went on the website today about WrestleMania 12?
Oh, yes, my Jury's Out article. So that's quite an interesting one, actually. So I've got quite strong opinions on the Iron Man match at
You've
WrestleMania
got strong
12.
opinions on everything I've ever known you talk about. I've never once known you not have a strong opinion.
That's fair enough. Well, there's nothing wrong with that.
You have a strong opinion on people who have weak opinions.
This, of course, coming from Rob sitting on the fence, McNichol.
It is my opinion.
He is worse.
It's my opinion that the main event of WrestleMania 12 is, in fact, garbage. Overindulgent, self-indulgent garbage. My colleague Gary Tate, however, has a very, very different opinion. In his opinion, it is a masterpiece. And we have decided to battle it out with a column called Jury's Out on the website. So what we'd ask you to do at some point, go on there, have a read my side of the story, read Gary's side of the story, and you decide. You're the case for the prosecution. You tell us which one of us you think is right. Is it a dreadful WrestleMania main event, or is it a really good WrestleMania main event? There is no option for meh or somewhere in between, because that's not how we roll. Let us know what you think on that. There's a voting option on that website. So it's hookedonwrestling.co.uk. So Rob, do you want to give us an answer, mate?
You want me to give you an answer about the Iron Man match?
I don't want you to give me an answer for the Iron Man match, because we've only got 3 hours till WrestleMania. 4 hours till WrestleMania.
Too late, because I've sent you one and it's in your inbox and you can put it on the website at any point.
I have seen it, and it will be going up tomorrow.
Okay. I can only think of one.
Oh, can you now?
I can only think of one. And I've got a sort of second one in the back of my mind, but that's not right, because he went the year after. So I'm going to have to give the one that I can. Dean, how many have you got? I
can think of 2.
Okay, well, I'm going to give mine.
Entirely certain.
I'm going to give one, and I'm going to sort of tag you in, because the only one I can think of, who I think was in a 6-man tag in this particular year, is Yokozuna.
The one that I'm thinking of, but I don't know if it was his last WrestleMania or if he came back again for another one, was Ultimate Warrior. Hilarious squash.
Yeah, was
Warrior.
What
about now? Are we counting? I don't know, because there was also Diesel, but then did Diesel wrestle at WrestleMania as Kevin Nash, but not as Diesel? So that was Diesel's last WrestleMania. I don't know if it counts like that.
No, I don't think Nash has wrestled at WrestleMania.
But can I also mention one other thing? Yeah, can I mention one other thing about WrestleMania 12? Just to because there's a little fact about WrestleMania 12 that Paul genuinely doesn't know, and I want to see his face when I tell him this. Do you know who I watched WrestleMania 12 live with?
No, go on.
In Andre Baker's living room in Ashford in Kent, among other people, I watched WrestleMania 12 live with Adam Bomb.
I knew you were going to say Adam Bomb. I knew you were going to say that.
And as the night went on and the beer flowed, the let's say the director's cut shoot commentary became more and more entertaining throughout the night.
Who's Adam Bomb? Who's I don't remember him. Is he not dead to us?
Don't you?
No.
Who's Adam Bomb? He's not dead to us. Adam Bomb's a much beloved part of the Hooked on Wrestling family.
Who's doing a different quiz at the moment.
Who may or may not be hosting another quiz as we speak. But hey, look, he's got to earn a living. And what's the point in paying Bryan Clark, who's a wonderful quiz host, but what's the point in playing him when we've got you two gorgeous examples of quizdom? So no, it's all good, mate. We are Bryan Clark and I are still firm friends, but that is so good that you watch WrestleMania 12 with him. I am well gel, as the kids might say on that one.
Pretty cool.
So am I right in thinking that you're going with Diesel, Yokozuna, Ultimate Warrior?
Yeah, I concur.
Okay. Okie doke. Right. So question number 13. It's you asking this one, isn't it?
Yes, it is. Number 13 at WrestleMania 13. Who did guest commentary on the Rocky Maivia versus the Sultan match? At WrestleMania 13, who did guest commentary on the Rocky Maivia versus the Sultan match? What's the question there for number 13?
Man. What a question.
Right. So The Rock against the Sultan at WrestleMania 13. I remember that. I remember that well. I remember who was in The Rock's corner. I do not remember who was on commentary. That's a very, very, very nice question, you sneaky bugger. If anyone gets this right, by the way, kudos to you, because that is really impressive. By the way, we're going to take after question 20. By the way, we're going to take a short break for you guys, and I've got a little sort of intermission surprise for you, courtesy actually of one of the players, like Jay Waldo.
Okay.
And he's got a great. I don't know, where is he? He's got a great Twitter account called Only Connect Wrestling that puts Only Connect questions on to do with wrestling, funnily enough. And we are going to he's given us an Only Connect wall, which is pretty awesome. Cool.
I'd like to think it's just a picture of the wall from WCW.
That would be spectacular, wouldn't it? Okay, so thank you to Jay for that. We're going to do that after question 20. But first of all, I'm going to give you an answer to this. I remember the match was based quite heavily on the Intercontinental Championship. Rocky Maivia had just won it, and it was quite a big focus of the match. I think that, and who was very well known to be working with The Rock quite a lot at that time, and also very well associated with the Intercontinental Championship, it was Pat Patterson. So my guess is Pat Patterson. And that is through not remembering it at all. It's just kind of putting 2 and 2 together and hopefully getting 4, but we'll see.
Dean, do you have an answer for that one? The guest commentator in the Rock Sultan match?
No, because I'd got Bob Backlund in my head, but he was in the corner of the Sultan with the Iron Sheik, I think, wasn't he?
He would have
been. So it's not him. So in that case, I can't. No, I haven't got any other answer.
Okay, we'll go with what Paul said. Back to Paul for number 14. Just before that, actually, funnily enough, there's a couple of people mentioning how they're either watching Line of Duty right now or they're saving it for later on. It is interesting, isn't it? This is the world in which we live in, that we're not overly bothered about spoilers for WrestleMania last night. We're absolutely bothered about spoilers for Line of Duty. Say nothing. Genuinely, if anyone spoils Line of Duty, I'm blocking you. We care about one thing and one thing only. That's WrestleMania.
Yes, indeed. Right, question 14. Right, simple one again, this one. WrestleMania 14 opened with a tag team battle royal. Who won it? WrestleMania 14 opened with a tag team battle royal. Who won it?
Okay. Callum says that he's not worrying about Line of Duty. He's watching the Masters, as am I, Callum. I've got the Masters on just over there. It's on in the background, but this is much more interesting. I can do both. Mick has said he's going to watch the Broken Skull sessions with Jericho after this. I've watched it this afternoon. I thought it was excellent. I really enjoyed it. It's 2 hours. It's not the normal sort of 45-minute heavily edited Broken Skull session that they've done before. It's 2 hours, and I think it's smashing. I really enjoyed it. There's nothing revelatory in there, I don't think, but it's Jericho's on good form. I didn't really realize how close pals, or at least they appear, Jericho and Austin. They're they seem to get on really great. So it's a good watch. Are we ready for an answer for number 14?
Give us your answer, mate. It's quite a simple one, this one.
Well, I believe that Roddy Piper used to say that LOD stood for Lookout Dummy. Some would say LOD stands for Line of Duty, but I would say it stands for the WrestleMania 14 winners, the Legion of Doom. LOD 2000, actually, to be technical.
Oh, I was just about to go full pedantry on you and say LOD 2000, Rob. But yeah,
I'd say 95% pedantry.
But yes, LOD 2000.
Are you all right, Paul? Are you looking at the weather reports for Tampa?
I am. I'm just doing some organisation for later in the show. So,
good.
Okie dokie doke. So, where were we? We're on question 15, and that is you, my friend.
This is possibly my favourite question of the night. I don't know. There's lots to come, I suppose. Number 15.
And sorry, just to stop you there, just as important as line of duty spoilers, Broken Skull Session spoilers, at your absolute peril, because I can't watch that today. I'm going to watch that tomorrow. So please keep that stum.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, I'm watching that.
There's no spoilers to be had, but it's really entertaining. Okay, question number 15. Dean is frozen. I can't tell if Paul is frozen. Am I talking to nobody?
No, you're talking to me. You're talking to me.
You were very still and Dean is frozen, so I wondered if I'd broken off there. WrestleMania 15. Who was the only D-Generation X member to win their match at WrestleMania 15? Who was the only D-Generation X member to win their match at WrestleMania 15? That is, to be clear, the people that were part of DX at the time. But
I think I know this one.
Yeah, Dean is having some internet problems very clearly. Paul, every now and again, you're going a bit... do you remember DDP when he was stalking The Undertaker's missus? Yeah, every now and again, your voice is going a bit like that. You're going a bit like that.
It's going a bit distorted, is it? Okay. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll just plow on. I've got my connection's pretty decent at the moment, so I will give you my answer now. I think it was Road Dogg. Road Dogg.
Okay, there we go then. Let's do the answers to those 5, shall we? It was me to start with question number 11. In which state did WrestleMania 11 take place? I believe it was Dean that threw the answer in there first, and he was right. It was in Connecticut. It was in Hartford, Connecticut, not very far from WWE headquarters. So WWF at the time. So Connecticut is the answer. Number 12, my friend.
Number 12. I asked you the question. I said, name 3 former WWF champions that made their final WrestleMania appearance at WrestleMania 12. You said Ultimate Warrior, Diesel, and Yokozuna, and you're absolutely correct.
Excellent. WrestleMania 13. Who did guest commentary on the Rocky Maivia versus the Sultan match? Maybe I should describe the person in question. I think one of you said Bob Backlund, the other one said Pat Patterson. Well, the person that was doing the co-commentary, he had long sideburns and his hair slicked back. Have you got it from that?
Yes. I was on the right lines, wasn't I? But I gave the wrong guy.
Long sideburns and his hair slicked back. He's gonna do your town in a pink Cadillac. He's just a honky-tonk man.
He's a honky-tonk man.
Here's a honky-tonk man, etc. Honky-tonk man is the answer. Number 13. Number 14.
Number 14. I asked you very simply who won the Tag Team Battle Royal at WrestleMania 14, and the answer is, as you quite rightly said, LOD 2000. I will accept the Legion of Doom or the Road Warriors or anything like that, but it's the Legion of Doom LOD 2000. Yeah,
any version of that will do. We're not. We do joke about pedantry on this show, but generally speaking, we're quite friendly about answers. If you clearly know who it is, if you spelled Legion of Doom NASTYBOYS, then you don't get a point. But generally speaking, yeah, you're okay. Number 15, who was the only D-Generation X member to win their match at WrestleMania 15? It was, as Paul says, and get well soon, the Road Dogg.
Get in. Got it right. Bang on.
So let's. Should we get Chris for the
Let's bring him in.
Chris, for the bonuses.
Hello, Chris.
Hello. Right. Let's get down to business with these bonus points. For that 5, we've got Jason Butler 3, Mick Conley 3, Leanne Culverhouse 2, Adam Frand 1, Darren Wilkes 1, John Callahan 1, Josh Morley 1, Lee Lower 1, Michael Phoenix 1, and Lee Hennis 1. That's Jason Butler 3, Mick Conley 3, Leanne Culverhouse 2, Adam Frand 1, Darren Wilkes 1, John Callahan 1, Josh Morley 1, Lee Lower 1, Michael Phoenix 1, and Lee Hennis 1.
Fantastic. Some great bonus points there, guys. Right, we've got a winner as well on our next WrestleMania DVD from WWE Home Video. We have got WrestleMania 20 we're giving away here, just re-released on DVD, and the winner of our WrestleMania 20 DVD is Steve Clark. So well done, Steve. I'll pop that in the morning. Steve lives about 5 miles from me, so it's very easy for me to deliver that. But I'm only kidding. I'm not driving in the morning. I'll be shit-faced. But no, seriously, well done, Steve. You are going to get the WrestleMania 20 DVD. I think we got some quite good scores on that round, all told, didn't we? So we're going to do one more round, and then we're gonna have that little sort of interlude. We'll have a 10-minute break for you. We'll stay here. We'll keep talking nonsense and do a few bits and pieces, but it just gives you guys a chance to refresh your beers, go for a toilet break, whatever else. So
we'll bring in Kid Rock to play 10 minutes of music that no one wants to hear.
We could do that, couldn't we? We could do that. Right. Okay. So I'm on question 16, which is about WrestleMania 2000. So the question is, and again, it's quite a simple one with this. At WrestleMania 2000, who teamed with Too Cool to face Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn, and Eddie Guerrero in a 6-man tag? Who teamed with Too Cool to face Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn, and Eddie Guerrero?
I like your you go Jonathan Ross for one word, and it's Guerrero. I like your Guerreros.
Okay then.
It's every now and again you chuck in a Guerrero to go with your DiBiase's, but it's good. I think I recall this. I think I don't know. I'm having mixed memories of a couple of different matches, and I think he was with him, and so that means that okay. I think I've got it. Okay, who was it that asked about the Masters? Was it Michael? He said, "Who's the top 3 and where is Patrick Reed?" Well, I can tell you, it's Matsuyama, Zalatoris, Rahm, Rose, and Leishman are the 5 that are on the screen. I don't know where Reed is, mate, but he's not in the top 5. Question 16. I believe that the person that teamed with Too Cool was China.
Okay, right. Well, we're going to take a little interlude there, and
my question. What can be more important than my question?
I tell you what's more important than your question. We have got a little surprise celebrity guest right here tonight, and I am delighted to welcome one of the heroes of Hooked on Wrestling, a man that needs absolutely no introduction, and also a man that has we previously heard watched WrestleMania 12 with our co-host Dean Ayas. Ladies and gentlemen, it could be the one, the only, Mr. Bryan Clark. Good evening, Bryan. How are you doing?
What's up, brother? I'm doing good.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight, buddy. How are you? Yeah, it's WrestleMania night. It's the biggest night of the year, and thanks for spending a bit of time with us. Yeah. This is awesome.
Yeah, man. Big night tonight. I caught most of the show last night, and yeah, man. Just gonna kick back and see what happens.
What do you, right, as a performer, before we get into talking about stuff, I'm really interested to hear about this. They had that big rain delay last night, didn't they? What, as a performer, if you're sat at a show, you're ready to go, you're stood at Gorilla waiting to go out, you're Drew McIntyre last night. How does that throw you? What happens then when you realize you've got to wait 40 minutes? Like physically, mentally, what's going through your mind?
Well, I mean, the butterflies, man, you always, if you don't have butterflies, then you don't need to be in the business. I don't care if you're in day 1 or you're in day 20 of your career. And that's just the way it is, man. But yeah, I'm sure they had to, the guys had to be, it didn't help being delayed because you're thinking, okay, this is the show starts and you're used to a routine. At least back then we were. Now with COVID and everything, it's changed a lot. But still, by the way, I'm the old man version of Drew McIntyre. I'm I'm like the Drew 3.0 or whatever you want to call me, man.
You're the OG Drew McIntyre. That's what it is.
No, I think he's great, man. I really like his character, and there are some guys that still have it, old school style, and he's one of those guys. Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of similarities between you guys, isn't there? Big men, charismatic, can move in that ring. You look back and you see a lot. You must see a lot of yourself in him.
I do, honestly. My wife told me, she's like, because she watched all my old stuff as Wrath, especially as Wrath, and even as Chronic tag team, and she was like, and I am Scottish, that's my lineage, but yeah, she's like, he really reminds me of you, and I'm just like, well, I'm a lot older, I'm a lot older, but hey, but no, I did all the high flying stuff and some of the crazy stuff too. But yeah, I just think he's a hell of a performer. And he's come a long way and he's paid his dues, man. I mean, the first run they brought him in there and they didn't really do a whole lot with him. And then this time he really nailed it. Just my opinion. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I remember seeing Drew McIntyre back in, whatever it was, 2008, and thinking he had, I wasn't impressed, frankly. And then he goes away, learns his craft, similar to how you guys did back in the day, worked his way around and came back like an absolute force of nature. So, but yeah, anyway, enough about Drew McIntyre, man. Let's talk about you. Let's talk about you, because obviously the guys here, we're all huge fans of when, you were Adam Bomb, when you were in Chronic, when you were Wrath. I know you and I talked a little bit the other day, but what we found fascinating. Just tell us a little bit about preparing for these big shows. What was your big highlight of your career in terms of the biggest show you wrestled on for you personally?
Oh man, without a doubt, had to be winning the All Japan. Are you drinking wine while we're doing business here? Look at that.
Sorry, I am. Apologies, did it without thinking.
I'm just kidding. No, without a doubt, for me, as tag team of Chronic, winning the All Japan titles in Osaka, sold out, and then one of my absolute all-time heroes, one of the guys that I patterned a little bit of my rough and tough style. Stan the Man Hansen presented me the titles. I mean, for me, that's the icing on the cake, man. It doesn't get any bigger than that.
What an absolute honor that must have been. So he was one of your growing up. You patterned yourself on him, right? In a fashion. For me being a former military and then a collegiate football player and also a state champion powerlifter, man, I had just that bull fighting kick-ass mentality, and I loved his style. I mean, that's just, I like that rough and tough and being snug. I mean, I was all about it. Yeah, I think that's definitely that's what I gravitate towards as well. I like seeing guys who've got the mix of styles. But I remember, again, funny enough, his name's about to pop up again, but I went to a house show about 5 or 6 years ago, and the main event was Drew McIntyre against Bobby Roode. And I remember coming away just going, this is two wrestlers wrestling. And, that's your style, isn't it? That's what you're used to and what you did. And I just love that. I think it's just the best. Flips are great and all these, super kicks are fantastic. But when you get two guys who know how to work and know how to whip up a crowd and also really hit each other, I think it's just the absolute best.
Yeah. I mean, if you're in the guys in there that can't break an egg, I mean, that just doesn't do it. I mean, you've got to be able to lay that shit in. You got to be tough enough to take it.
Yeah.
That's just what I think. There's a believability part of wrestling, and that is what is so important, and that's what I was taught. And you got to be snug. I'm not saying go and break the guy's neck or try to kill him, but I am saying, I want everybody. If I'm laying a chop in, I want everybody to hear it up into the upper stands. I want a tackle or a clothesline or whatever I'm doing. Lay it in, man. Don't half-ass it, because that just, it looks like it just doesn't look good.
Yeah. I think everyone in this room here, everyone watching this broadcast, would completely agree with you as well. And I just got to say as well, right? And this, for some people here will know this already because we talk about it a lot, but others won't. Bryan has just had his own line of merchandise released, right, at Wrestle Merch Central. I've ordered a mug and I've ordered an Adam Bomb t-shirt, and I can't wait for them to come. And I just think it's absolutely sensational. But I know there's a few fans here. Like, what's your favorite item there, Adam? Bryan, tell us about the stuff with Tom Fleming. There's some awesome stuff coming out there, isn't there?
Oh yeah, I'll answer your first question. There was, like, as far as what is my favorite thing, it has to be like the Atom Bomb bomber jacket. I mean, who better to have a bomber jacket than Atom Bomb? But the thing is, I designed every single piece of that stuff. I had been working on this for a couple of years. All the color schemes, the logos, everything, just the whole design of it. Then I had a designer paint and color and put it together for me, so it would be official. But I did it all myself. Those were all my ideas. Every single thing you see there is my idea. The next part, why am I out of your screen? Am I doing something wrong? I feel like I'm half out of your screen. Do I need to move over?
Yeah, just maybe move a little bit. Just move a little bit. Yeah, you just drifted out. There we go.
Sorry about that. I knew something was wrong. I didn't know if it was on my end here. And then the other part was Tom Fleming, the guy who actually created Atom Bomb back in '93, who now works for Marvel Comics, one of the biggest superhero type companies in the world that does all the Spider-Man, Batman, the works. We reconnected, and he is now working on new stuff for me, Atom Bomb, and I've got to see some of the early releases of it, I guess is what you would call it. He's just exclusive to me, and they are amazing, man. And it will be an official release for Wrestle Merch. So you guys are getting, and man, they are badass. I'm just telling you, man. The colors jump off the shirt, off whatever, the towel, the beach towel, the shirt, the hat, whatever they put it on, man. It is amazing. What I did, I told him what I wanted. Again, I gave him my idea, gave him a rough sketch of it, and then he painted it and put it together. And he's putting all his touches on it too, because he knows who better to know that knows Atom Bomb better than me. The character, that I worked at that character for so long. But yeah, he is putting it together as we speak.
That is awesome. Well, look, I need you to make me a promise. I need to be the first customer in the queue. I need to be the first man to get my credit card out when that comes ready, because I want one of those bad boys for sure.
Man, it will make a hell of a poster. It'll make all of it, man. I'm telling you, it just jumps off the page. It is his artwork. I mean, his artwork was great back in '93, okay, '94, '95. He did Razor Ramon, Undertaker. He did a lot of their stuff, okay. All the pay-per-view posters, did all that stuff. If you can imagine how much he has progressed as an artist now, how great his stuff is. So just think about that, and that'll tell you what I got coming up.
Mate, it's going to be so cool. We can't wait to see it. And I know everyone's the same. Look, we're going to let you go, Bryan. We really appreciate you coming in. But just before you do, guys, Wrestle Merch Central is where you can find all the great Adam Bomb, Chronic, Wrath gear. We've put the link up on the screen there. We've already put our orders in. You guys can put your orders in too. Bryan, enjoy WrestleMania, my friend. Thank you so much for coming and saying hello to us all tonight.
All right, and listen, not too much wine because you're going to pass out and then you'll miss the show.
It's just a couple of early glasses for lubrication purposes.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
I've got to keep the voice going, my friend.
Okay. All right.
Buddy, take care. Thanks very much. See you again.
Enjoy it, man. Thank you.
Good night.
All right, buddy.
It's a little bonus, wasn't it?
What can we say? What can we say? I told you we'd be dropping a bomb, and we dropped a bomb. See?
Good one, Harvey.
There's more than one way to skin a quiz cat. That's for sure. So yeah, that was brilliant. That's the friend. You know, we take the mick out of being able to, when you call someone who is interviewing, you interview a friend of the show. But genuinely, Bryan Clark is a friend of the show. He is an awesome dude. We've spoken a bit. We've helped him with his merch, and he is an absolutely wonderful, wonderful guy. So delighted that he's sort of emerging back into the wrestling scene. And no doubt when live events happen again and stuff, and when the convention circuit kicks round, you guys are going to be able to see him in person, meet him at the convention, at the Love of Wrestling convention. He's probably going to be heading over at some point soon. So I'm sure you'll all welcome us in bringing Bryan Clark. He's when we did our How Mania podcast, Rob will vouch for me on this. When we started our How Mania podcast, we joked that we wanted to interview Adam Bomb, mainly because we loved him. We loved the Adam Bomb character, but also because we knew he was off the grid and it was impossible and we couldn't get Adam Bomb. It was just a pipe dream. We got Adam Bomb and it was awesome. Absolutely awesome. So sorry about that interlude, guys. I know that wasn't quite what you expected, but I'm sure most of you will forgive us for bringing in one of our favorite 90s wrestlers to the chat. And remember, I've seen Mick's already bought a top, but WrestleMania Central, some of the designs are absolutely awesome. So do remember that. Cool. Okay, so I'm sorry about that, guys. I was distracted a little bit for the last few questions because I was just trying to sort all that out. But I'm back in the game now. So where were we? We were on WrestleMania 16. You just answered 17, mate. Do you want to ask me 17 if you haven't already?
I will ask number 17. I will be honest. I was ever so slightly starting to get annoyed, and I was like, "He's bloody texting. We're trying to do a quiz." And he's texting away. And then we've just on our screens, folks, I can see what you can see with me and Paul in split screen, but we've got comments down one side and some little things underneath. So I can see, for example, at the moment, Chris Hatch pouring another can of Budweiser, and he's put it like that to me. So we can see who's kind of in the room backstage, as it were. And then suddenly this little thing popped up and it said Bryan Clark. And I went, that's why Paul's been texting. So he is completely and utterly forgiven. And you just apologise for the interlude. I would suggest that, can you imagine people going, oh, they were doing a quiz with some inane banter and then they brought on a bloody wrestler. I didn't want to speak to him. I wanted their shit. Hopefully you enjoyed both, folks. I enjoyed that a great deal. And I'll say this so Paul doesn't have to. If you go to the podcast feed for How Mania and indeed for the YouTube channel as well, extended interview with Bryan, that one we had about 10 minutes or so tonight. But there's an hour or so on the YouTube channel, which is a really entertaining watch. As you can tell, Bryan is a very relaxed, nice guy, easy to talk to, and he comes across great in that interview with Paul and indeed with Ash, who do How Mania. Right, question number 17. Many people's favourite WrestleMania 17. How many, this is another number one, you don't have to name the specifics, but how many championships changed hands at WrestleMania 17? How many championships changed hands at WrestleMania 17? And just to be on the safe side, just in case anyone is unsure, I would consider a tag team titles changing as one change. That's not two people. Do you know what I mean? So if the answer, a tag team championship changing over, if indeed it changed over, would only count as one if you're adding it up, because I know that some people wouldn't be sure if it was a double.
Wow. Okay.
I've sort of given that away a little bit. And we seem to be having more Sussex broadband issues with Dino.
Yeah, Dean's gone again. And I'm genuinely heartbroken because Dean hasn't spoken to Bryan for 21 years. And they used to be really good friends when they knew each other from the UK circuit. And Dean didn't know that was going to happen because it only came together quite late. And his broadband's gone again for the second night in a row. So sorry, Dean, but believe me, we'll be working with Bryan again. So we'll have that conversation. I'm looking forward to it. I've just done a little tot up in my head, and I think it was 5.
Okay, that's your answer. You do number 18.
Okay, number 18 is right. Number 18. Listen carefully to this one because it's quite a trickily worded question, but it does make sense. Okay, question 18. WrestleMania 18 was held in the Sky Dome in Toronto. Okay, but there were 2 men that wrestled at WrestleMania 18 that were also known to be in the building at the last time WrestleMania was held in the Sky Dome, but they didn't wrestle. Name them both. I'll just repeat that a couple of times. So WrestleMania 18 was held in the Sky Dome in Toronto. There were 2 men who wrestled on WrestleMania 18 who were known to be in the building but didn't wrestle the last time WrestleMania was held in that same building. Name those 2 men, please. And just so I'm not being tricksy, there is camera. They're both on camera at some point during the broadcast of this previous WrestleMania. Do you know where I'm going with this, Rob? Have you got some answers on this one?
I know. I specifically know one of them. I'm just trying to work out the other one, to be honest.
I'm still buzzing about Brian. I'm sorry. It was guys. I will apologise that I'm no interviewer. That was sprung on at the last second to the point where we didn't even get a chance to confer between ourselves. If we'd have had 5 minutes to work that one out, I would have said, Rob, would you mind taking this? Because Rob is a fantastic interviewer of talent. And if we'd have had even a few minutes to prepare, I'd have asked Rob to take the reins on that one. But like I say, it won't be the last time we talk to Brian or involve him. He isn't. I genuinely want to. Cards on the table. I've worked with a lot of wrestlers. It's a mixed bag. Some are great guys, some not so much. Brian is one of the good guys, and I hope we get to work with him going forward. And I'm looking forward to meeting him when he comes over. So and it's great to see him so happy and healthy. And you see him on social media, and he's clearly having the time of his life. So I'm dead pleased. And that's my stalling done. So Rob, what are your answers on this question, please?
First of all, don't put yourself down as an interviewer. You're all right, and I think actually it was probably better suited for you talking to him because I don't know the guy, and you're familiar to him. So I think you did a good job. Well, the one I think I know that was in the building that night was Edge, and by a process of elimination, let's go Christian, because to me the story is about Edge being there. So I'll go Christian, and I'll offer a little bit of explanation when we get to the actual answer.
Okay, so let's go question number 19.
Number 19. Who was the only man, man, to win a match at WrestleMania 19 who has never been a tag team champion in WWE?
Sorry, go on. I've been tricked.
I'll just let me repeat it. Who is the only man to win a match at WrestleMania 19 who has never been a tag champion in WWE? So it could have been before that or after that. One man that won a match on that show has never been a tag champion in WWE.
Okay, I know the answer to this. My absolute favorite WrestleMania, by the way. I know people often cite WrestleMania 17 as their favorite, and it was an exceptional show. For me personally, I think 19 is better. I think it's got a better frame of match. What people forget, there's a lot of filler on WrestleMania 17. Actually, there's some absolutely brilliant high points. And what I always remember about WrestleMania, and this isn't a knock, this is just by means of a comparison. What people often forget about WrestleMania 17 is the build was garbage. It was done in the whole card was put together in about 3 weeks. Even the main event was, it was Deborah was The Rock's manager. Then she wasn't. And it wasn't until the last week when they did that great interview that it came together. But it was so rushed Whereas WrestleMania 19 was clearly very, very well planned, with so many of the main event matches having a brilliant long burn build and them all coming together on one night. I think it's the best. If Undertaker had anything worthwhile to do at that WrestleMania, I don't think it would be a dispute. I think it would be unanimous that was the greatest wrestler ever. I think the sole problem with that WrestleMania is that the Undertaker's match was totally throwaway. And I think if the Undertaker was doing something prominent, it would be just off the charts.
I think it's a really good Mania. My issue with 17. I think 17 is an excellent WrestleMania, but I'm not a big fan of the main event. I think it's an unsatisfying conclusion.
No, you said that before, haven't you?
And I think main events. You need to judge main events as part of the show. You need to have. One of the reasons I am a big fan of WrestleMania 21, and we'll get to that in a minute, about it being. Favorite isn't. I'm not sure if it's my favorite WrestleMania, but I think it's the best WrestleMania because I think it's satisfying almost from start to finish. It's got some fabulous undercard matches, but the two main events, as it were, for the titles, John Cena and Batista were absolutely flying, and they were mega over, and they were the right choices to win their matches at that time. Not necessarily great matches, but they were the correct decisions to win their belts at the point. So I think that's one of the reasons. Sometimes you have to take the it's a bit like a classic album that you loved at the time. It's a snapshot of the band at that time, and 21 might not be the same band that you know now, but at the time that is exactly what that band should have been.
Just before I give my answer, I'm just gonna, and I won't, each to their own, but I'm just really interested to see Tom say WrestleMania 19 like it's a classic match. I think that's a fascinating point of view because I think it's got like 4 all-time classic. I think there's no WrestleMania. If you take the top 4 matches of any given WrestleMania, I don't think any other WrestleMania even remotely comes close in terms of quality of the top 4 matches, not even in the ballpark. So it's really interesting that Tom's got, wrestling. Look, that's the beauty of wrestling, isn't it? We've all got different opinions on everything. And, and I would never criticize someone's opinion at all, but I just find it fascinating that he has that opinion because in my mind, that's just the absolute opposite. But anyway, I'm stalling a bit. So my answer to this question, it came to me in an instant, so I hope I'm right. Brock Lesnar.
Okay, number 20 is your question.
Number 20 is the last answer in the round before we do some bonus points and give away another DVD. Question 20, very simply, again, who sang America the Beautiful at WrestleMania 20?
Oh, gosh, I don't know that.
Who sang America the Beautiful at WrestleMania 20? But while Rob's thinking, I'm gonna go on this WrestleMania 19 point, and Tom's elaborated a bit and said no TLC 2 or WrestleMania 20 triple threat. It's interesting you put that because I think those two are absolutely stunning matches, absolutely stunning. But to me, you've got Jericho Michaels, which is just incredible.
Brilliant.
Austin Rock, which was just phenomenal. And in hindsight, I think it's the best of the 3 WrestleMania matches, personally.
I don't agree with that.
Fair enough. Then you've got Hogan against Vince, which was not a technical masterpiece in any way, shape, or form, but it just felt so epic, and so it felt such a WrestleMania occasion. And then obviously, Brock Lesnar against Kurt Angle in the main event, to me, probably maybe was a notch below where we might have thought it would be, but still absolutely wonderful. So very, very interesting. Again, that's what I love so much about wrestling. Wrestling is not a thing, is it? Wrestling is not a definitive category. Wrestling is a canvas of which you can paint myriad different paintings on, and like art, you could paint something that I think is wonderful, and Tom, for instance, thinks is the biggest pile of crap that's ever been committed to paint and canvas. Or you could have it completely the way around. Just because you paint on the same canvas doesn't remotely mean you're doing the same work. And I just think that's what I love so much about wrestling, is that it means so much to so many different people. But anyway, I'm giving Rob some thinking time, and I'm probably being a bit too kind on that. So Rob, you don't know the answer, do you? So there's no point in labouring it.
I haven't got a clue, but there's someone I remember. That WrestleMania was what you mentioned it earlier on, didn't you? There was a lot about It All Begins Again and that sort of thing at number 20. So I feel like because it was at MSG, there was a lot of nostalgia. So I'm going to go with someone who I think did an early America the Beautiful, and they came back and did it again. I know they came back at some point. I think they were actually a little bit later than this, but I'm going to say Aretha Franklin.
Okay. And Adams asked, how specific do you need to be on WrestleMania on question 20? Mate, as always with these quizzes, as long as we think, as long as you give us an answer that feels like the right answer, then we're pretty cool with it. So
I'm not
okay,
right. I'm not right
do,
then, am I?
No. Right, let's do the answers here. So question 16 was the first one. So question 16, who teamed with Too Cool to face Dean Malenko, Perry Saturn, and Eddie Guerrero? Rob said China, and he was absolutely on the money. It was China. Obviously, I was trying to put you guys into a trap there. And I wanted you to say Rikishi. But he actually teamed with Kane against.
Well, this is the thing. This is the thing. I could picture Kane, Rikishi, and Too Cool. Was what I was picturing, because that's the whole and the chicken. Because that was the Pete Rose thing. That was the Pete Rose gimmick that year. And so I was picturing those ones, and I was going, well, it must be Kane then if it's Too Cool and Rikishi. But I can see Kane. But of course, it was Kane and Rikishi together, and then Too Cool came running in after that to do the gimmick with Too Cool. So yeah, anyway, China was the answer. That was when they were doing the whole Latino Heat thing, wasn't it?
I love, by the way, that Brian told me off for drinking wine. All the way through that sort of mini interview, I kept instinctively reaching for it by mistake and having to stop just in case he told me off again. But yeah, quite is China. So what's 17, mate? Give us your 17.
I wasn't absolutely certain, but did you at one point call him Adam?
I did, and then very quickly corrected myself.
Yeah. I liked it.
It's because I adore Adam Bomb.
That's fine. So, Chronic, what do you think? Wrath. Hello, Wrath. Good evening. Number, what are we on? 17?
Yes, we are.
Yeah, number 17. How many championships changed hands at WrestleMania 17? Kane won the hardcore title.
Yeah.
Eddie Guerrero won the European title.
Shut up, you.
Edge and Christian won the tag title.
Edge and Christian won the tag team titles, did they?
China won the women's title. Steve Austin won the WWF title. 5 is the correct answer.
That's what I thought. I couldn't
The only
quite
person to retain. The only person to retain was Jericho over Regal.
Yeah. And that was the one that stumped me, because I couldn't remember whether he retained or won the belt in the opening match. But because that was the only one, that's the only other title match, I just sort of went, do you know what? They're probably not going to change all the titles. So that was.
Do you know what I would get wrong almost every time? If you were to say to me, and I know it's wrong, and I can work backwards and realize why it's wrong. But if you'd have had question 17 and you'd have said, what's the opening match of WrestleMania 17? 65% chance I would say Rob Van Dam versus Regal. I always get
that was
that
the year
wrong.
after. Yeah, I know exactly
Van
what you
Dam's
mean.
not even in the company, doesn't come in until the invasion, blah, 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 blah. But I always want to think that it's Rob Van Dam versus Regal.
Okay, so question 18. I said 2 men who won matches at WrestleMania 18 in the Toronto Sky Dome were also in the building for the last WrestleMania in that building. You said Edge and Christian.
Yeah, well, I think the story. I thought the story went that Edge talks about it because that's part of the story of him teaming with Hogan. But I also thought that Lance Storm has talked about it, but I don't think Storm ever wrestled on a WrestleMania.
Well, look. There's going to, I'm being a bit sort of judicious on this one because there is probably more than we've said. There could be all sorts of different things, but there are 2 men that are documented and videoed being in that crowd. Christian isn't one of them.
No, I didn't think he was actually.
Yeah,
but I couldn't think of another one.
Edge is who wrestled Christian at WrestleMania 18.
I don't know. I can't remember. DDP.
It was DDP, and who drove? Rhythm and Blues limo at WrestleMania 6. So the answers are Edge and Diamond Dallas Page for question 18. So, mate, give us 19.
19, who was the only man to win a match at WrestleMania 19, who has never been a tag champion in WWE. And when you go through the roll, I actually haven't written them down, but the roll call of people that won matches at WrestleMania 19 is outstanding. And one of them, the only one that wasn't a tag champion, as Paul rightly said, was Brock Lesnar.
Yep. And just Adam, just to correct you there, mate, you said Howard Finkel. I did specifically say people who wrestled at WrestleMania 18. And thankfully for all of us, the Fink didn't. AS is back. Do we now think that Dean AS and Bryan Clark are actually the same person? Do we think this is like Clark Kent and Bryan Clark Kent and Superman? Is that what it is?
Dean does look like a hell of a lot of people. but I've never thought Adam Bomb is one of them.
Hello.
Was Adam Bomb in the Hairy Bikers?
Could have been. Could have been.
I cannot believe the timing of this. Trust me, there has been much swearing in the AS household, and Merch Curl has had her patience tested to the limit. I'm
10 years.
I'm just hoping that this is the end of things. I cannot believe I missed Brian. I have not spoken.
I'm so sorry,
him.
mate.
I have not spoken to him for 21 years. 20 and a half years. I last saw him November 2000, which was a Nitro taping in London. But hey.
Hey, mate, like I said to you on the text, it won't be the last opportunity. I can promise you that.
No.
So
we'll have to get him on because WCW. Anyway, sorry, I've interrupted you guys.
Oh, yeah.
Not at all.
That's a great idea.
So we were going into question 20, the last one of the round before we bring Chris in. I'll bring Chris in now, actually, for these bonuses. But question 20, I asked... No. I asked you, who sang the rendition of America the Beautiful at WrestleMania 20? The answer was Harlem Boys Choir. The Harlem Boys Choir. And just for you, a few people apparently have put a choir. That's too vague, I'm afraid.
Yeah, I mean,
if it was like the New York Choir or the, whatever, something along those lines, or the Harlem Boys Club or something, fine. I'm afraid a choir is just a bit too vague.
Yeah, that's
if
I'd have been right with Aretha Franklin, you wouldn't have given me it for saying a woman. So
no,
can
exactly.
I just ask, what was the question for WrestleMania 18? Because I was at that one, so I was looking forward to a question on that.
The question was, which two men who wrestled at WrestleMania 18 were also on camera but didn't wrestle the last time WrestleMania was held in the Sky Dome?
Edge and Christian.
Edge
what a
and
silly
DDP.
answer.
Oh, not Christian. DDP,
Edge
of
and
course.
DDP. Now, a few people said Christian was there, but I'm being slightly sneaky with this answer. He's not sort of known to be there. It's not part of the WWE narrative, is it? Do you know what I mean?
No,
like,
it's
harsh,
very much that it was Edge because that led into the thing with Hogan. So
yeah,
I said Edge and Christian, but I would absolutely back you up. I have a couple of things to wrap up before we do Chris's bonuses. You got a big pop apparently from Mark Jr. For returning Dean, which is nice. But Josh Chapman says, I get Tony Schiavone vibes from Dean, which is astonishing because I've been told I look like Tony Schiavone many, many times in my life, and I've never considered that Dean does. So that's perhaps if an amalgam of me and Dean becomes Tony Schiavone, I don't know. And I do have to say, Paul, your microphone is getting worse and worse, my friend. So I don't know if you have another headset. But it's fine for most of the time, but once every minute and a half, it goes very, very Dalek. So it's
I'll tell you what I'll do. While Chris is doing his bonuses, I'll plug it into a different thing. And if not, I'll take it out entirely and just do it without a mic. So,
thanks, mate.
Chris, take it away, my friend.
Okay, bonus points for that set 5. I feel like I've not been on screen for ages.
Who are you?
Yeah, I know. I just turn up every so often. I don't really do anything. So, right, bonus points. Jordan Pritchett, 4. David Reed, 2. Michael Phoenix, 2. Steve Clark, 2. Benjamin Harris, 1. Jason Butler, 1. Leanne Culverhouse, 1. Lee Hennis, 1. And Lee Lower, 1. That's Jordan Pritchett, 4. David Reed, 2. Michael Phoenix, 2. Steve Clark, 2. Benjamin Harris, 1. Jason Butler, 1. Leanne Culverhouse, 1. Lee Hennis, 1. And Lee Lower, 1.
To clarify for Michael Phoenix, yes, the answer to number 17 was 5. You're correct.
Fantastic. Right. Well, let's do a draw. I've done the draw. Draw for WrestleMania 22, which we won't talk about because we'll have a question on that soon. I don't want to give anything away. But that was actually won by one of our own, as it were, Josh Chapman. Don't say we don't go in for nepotism here at Hooked on Wrestling, because Josh is one of our feature writers on the website, but he came out randomly just like everyone else, and Josh Chapman wins WrestleMania 22 on DVD from WWE Home Video. So we've got another DVD to give away. We've got 2 more DVDs to give away: WrestleMania 24 and SummerSlam, the best of 30 years. We've got the Cool As WrestleMania t-shirt, and we've got the mini Intercontinental title. So stick with us all the way through. You might get 0 in the quiz, you might get all of them right, but you're in for a chance of winning a prize. So, Chris, everything cool your end, mate?
Yeah, all good. Now I'm up to speed now with how many people we've got playing, which is It's the shock at first, but it's obviously great always having new faces, and long may it continue.
Absolutely. Brilliant. All right, mate, we'll see you in a couple of minutes.
See you in a minute.
Right, what are we into now?
At this stage, if people could, I'm sorry to do technical meetings on air, but if you could let us know how you're hearing Paul, I think if anything, it's ever so slightly worse, but it could just be how things are coming through my ears. I don't know, but in terms of the structure, are we having the intended break, or did we consider the Bryan Clark bit the break?
Well, I'll tell you what. Let's make it 5 minutes. Let's just give 5 minutes for everyone to go for a quick wee. Maybe get some extra snacks in, and then we will.
I've just changed my microphone, by the way. Has that made any difference?
No,
that sounds a hell of a lot worse.
That was much worse. You sounded miles away then.
Okay, well, let me change it back. I'm afraid we're just going to have to live with my terrible broadband.
So there we go.
It's very, very odd because it sounds fine mostly, but every now and again it's like, bloody hell. It's
okay,
well, a bit striking.
Let's run with it. Cool. Okay, so let's have before everyone disappears. Though, let me put up our Only Connect wall from Jay Waldo.
Yeah.
So those that play Only Connect will know what this is all about, but those that don't will want some explaining. So we're going to put up a wall with 16 pictures on. Okay, and what I want you guys to do is group these 16 pictures into 4 groups of 4, and every group of 4 has a theme running through it. By the way, this is rock hard. So I'm going to put it on Twitter. I'm going to put it on our Twitter page as well, so you can refer to it throughout the quiz. But this is rock hard. But what it is, you've got to group them into 4 different themes. There's one theme that connects one group of 4, then another group of 4, then another group of 4, another group. So 4 different themes. Now, there are some that are red herrings and fit into more than one category. But if you do that, then the other ones don't fit and stuff like that. So forgive me if I'm not explaining that brilliantly, but basically group them together by theme. Rob might be able to explain it better because he's an Only Connect devil.
To be fair with Only Connect, the best way of explaining it is by doing it. So it's one of those ones that if you don't understand it now, you might not. But once we've done it, you'll go, oh yeah, and you'll know for next time.
So I'm just going to put.
Should also point out this isn't part of the quiz, folks.
No, this is just for fun.
This is the halftime interval fun. This is River Dance at the Eurovision Song Contest. Okay, this is not part of it. This is just a bit of entertainment at halftime.
I'm just putting it up on our Twitter now, so you'll all be able to Twitter. So our Twitter, by the way, is HO_wrestling. And you'll be able to see that in just 1 second. And then I'm going to put it up on our background for just a minute. So what I would suggest you do is you take a photo of it when I put it on the back. Because when I put it up on the background, you can't then see it. You can't then hear us, should I say. So I'm going to put it up on the background for just a minute, take a photo of it, and then we'll come back up, and you can always see it on our Twitter, HO_wrestling. So I'm going to take us all off the screen while we all go for a quick wee, and then we'll come back. Don't go anywhere. The live stream isn't ending. We're just going to stop for a minute. So here's your wall coming up.
It's me. I
And
wasn't
we're
expecting
back. Sorry, mate. And we're back. So just I've seen a comment from Nick Brown. Ho Wrestling, seriously, mate. Believe me, the name of the company came before the Twitter handle, and I've tried to find a work ways around it, but unfortunately, we are stuck with Ho Wrestling. It was a slight oversight when we branded the company. Let's put it that way. But let's just roll with it. We can't even name you guys, because otherwise, if we give you guys a name, our fans, you just become hookers, which is. Hookers or hoes. Either way, we're screwed, really, aren't we?
I don't have an issue with hookers. Hookers is a wrestling term. It's one of the reasons we're called Hooked on Wrestling, because hooking is a wrestling term.
There you go. By the way, we've just managed to lose 5 people in the break, so I don't know how I managed that, but obviously, hopefully they come back afterwards. If not, no problem. Okay, I'll bring. Chris has done his bonus points, hasn't he? I've lost track a little bit. Chris has done the bonuses. We'll bring Dean back and we'll get into question 21 in just a minute. So let's just give. So, by the way, guys, just while people are coming back from the toilet and whatever, I'll just give you a rundown of what we're going to do after this. We'll go slightly quicker for this second half of the quiz because we've lagged a bit in this one. We'll go slightly quicker with the last 20, but we will straight after this, we'll do an analysis on Facebook, on WrestleMania for last year. Oh God, I'm all over this. I'm trying to do 3 or 4 things at once. We'll do an analysis on last night's WrestleMania and maybe talk about a little bit about this one coming up. And we'll also be doing a watch along for WrestleMania when it comes on. I know I'm going to be there. Rob, are you up for that tonight?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I don't know about Chris and Dee might be joining us periodically as well for that. And I think Adam Pearson might well be stepping in again tonight after doing such a wonderful job last night. I don't
want to push the limits of my internet connection too much tonight.
Right, fair enough.
See what happens. We will see what happens. Okay, so what WrestleMania are we up to now?
21.
We are at 21.
21. The best WrestleMania of all time. At WrestleMania 21, who interrupted Roddy Piper and Steve Austin in Piper's Pit? At WrestleMania 21, who interrupted Roddy Piper and Steve Austin's Piper's Pit? And as you would expect, got a stunner for their troubles.
Oh my God, I should know this one. Who interrupted Roddy Piper and Steve? Oh yes. I've remembered.
My contention is that WrestleMania 21 is the best WrestleMania ever. For a couple of reasons I said earlier. One is that the 2 main events in terms of the crowning of Cena and Batista were perfect. They were absolutely flying at the time. They were so over it was untrue. Rey Mysterio versus Eddie Guerrero is a lovely opener. The ladder match, I think it's the first Money in the Bank ladder match, was something brand new. It was different. It was. I'm not always a massive fan of those kind of matches because they're a bit heart in mouth to me. I'm just worried about people getting hurt. But of its type, it was ingenuity. It was ingenuitive. That's not a word. But it was different and it was cool. I believe Undertaker versus Orton is the start of Undertaker having great matches at Mania. There's a couple of reasonable ones before that. His match with Triple H at 17 is good, but this is the start of a run of pretty much all the way through great matches. Not every single one, but this is when Undertaker started to work at Mania rather than be the Undertaker.
I wouldn't necessarily agree with that. I'd say it's the start of the streak. In a sense, it's the start of the streak.
Yeah, it's that too. It's that too. That's when they started to do the Legend Killer thing and the streak. And then I think Kurt Angle versus Shawn Michaels is one of the greatest matches in WrestleMania history. I think it really, really stacks up 21. I think it's a great Mania.
I don't disagree with any of that. I think it's a wonderful Mania. My son is a very big fan of WrestleMania 21 as well. Do you know why?
Because he's a bright, intelligent lad.
Sumo match.
Oh, okay. He likes the shittest bit of it, but there we go.
What can I say? I haven't completely. Although his favorite wrestler is now Walter. He absolutely adores Walter, and I think I've trained him right. I think I've got him right there. We'll come to this. When we talk about WrestleMania, we'll talk about Samuel's experiences with WrestleMania. Not to be too self-indulgent, but there were some really interesting observations from watching it with a 7-year-old. Genuinely interesting. So we'll come to those when we do our WrestleMania Night 1 retrospective. But I'm going into I'm going. Have I given you an answer to that one, by the way?
No, neither of you have as yet. So
What was the question?
Who interrupted Roddy Piper and Steve Austin in Piper's Pit?
Carlito.
I can't. There you go. I was going to say I can't think if it was. It'll be the kind of the renter heel of the moment. So yeah, like Elias would be a few years ago or someone like that. Yeah, so that fits.
Carlito is the one. Right, WrestleMania 22. What was the longest match on the card? Dead simple. What was the longest match of WrestleMania 22?
I've now got to work out what year WrestleMania 22 was. Okay.
Simple as that. And while you're doing that, Tack is absolutely right. Those two champions being crowned were absolutely sensational. It just felt like for the WrestleMania, to me, the best thing about WrestleMania in history has always been that crowning of that new star. You know, the very best WrestleManias have always ended with that anointing of the new, not just the new champion. You can have a new champion anywhere, but the new star. And I'm talking Steve Austin, Ultimate Warrior, Drew McIntyre, John Cena, Batista, Shawn Michaels, and the list goes on. And that is when WrestleMania is its absolute best. And they did it twice at WrestleMania 21, which kind of shouldn't have worked, but it really, really did, because there were two very, very different stories and two very, very different champions. And I will argue this till the day I die. JBL was a phenomenal WWE champion, because he got under your skin at a time when work rate was like the be all and end all for the vast majority of us. JBL comes along. How dare he come from just being a tag team half-wit to being the man within weeks? It irritated me. It irritated Dean. Even though I didn't know him then, but I can tell you it would have done it. It would have irritated Rob and Chris. And that was the point.
And also in the era of great physiques, he wasn't a great physique guy. He was the antithesis of your champion, basically, which is, as you say, exactly why it worked. But WrestleMania 22 is 2006, and I know that because I went to the last WrestleMania I went to was 23, and that was 2007.
And just while I will come back to you. I just want to address this point from Jay, who says JBL is a complete arsehole. You may well be right, okay? But if you only, believe me, I worked in wrestling for 8 years, right? Dean's worked in wrestling for longer. Rob's interviewed dozens and dozens of champions. If you only liked wrestlers that were nice people, you wouldn't like many wrestlers. And a lot of the guys who are your heroes would no longer be your heroes. I can guarantee.
I think it's a bit harsh. I think most of them are good fellas, but there are a few that are.
Less than. But my point is there are a few that present as white in the public that really aren't.
Yeah, that's true. I have met JBL 2 or 3 times. I've interviewed him. I spoke to him on the phone. I actually did a little bit of work for the Layfield Report when he brought that app out. I found him really, really sound. I got on very, very well with him. So it's just the way it goes. I'm not saying he hasn't been an arsehole to other people, but he was very cool with me.
Whereas he's blocked me on Twitter. So,
so he's obviously quite cool. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Right. Let's get an answer from one of you on this one then. Who wants to answer this?
The longest match of God.
I can't get a grasp on WrestleMania 22 at all.
Was that the Foley Edge match? Was that on that year?
I'm saying absolutely nothing.
The only thing I can think of is that I think it might be. Is that the year that year Eddie died and that Mysterio won the Rumble? The trouble is, I basically got up to about WrestleMania 20, and from 20 onwards, I remember WrestleManias, and I have no idea what numbers they are.
Eddie died November 2005, so that would be
so
the
that's
WrestleMania
right then.
following. So yeah.
So who did Ray wrestle at that WrestleMania? Was it a triple threat? Is that the triple threat with Angle and Orton? I'm going to say that. I'm going to say Ray versus Angle versus Orton because it's the only match that I think I know that was on WrestleMania 22.
Okay. For the sake of brevity, let's move on to 23.
Number 23, there was an 8-man tag team match at WrestleMania 23. Of the 8 participants, who was the only one to have had at least one more main card WrestleMania match. So of that 8-man tag team match, for 7 of them, it was their only WrestleMania match. who is the only person in the eight-man tag to have had more than one match at WrestleMania.
How fantastic is that? I know the answer, but what a fascinating point.
I know the match you're talking about, and I'm just now going through in my head who was in that match and who would have been the answer.
I think I know this off the top of my head. I think I do, but I'll give Dean the first chance to answer it.
Okay, throw him under the bus.
Well, this would have been the ECW originals for the other ECW guys from the new ECW roster. And I seem to remember like the WWE, the new ECW guys were sort of undercard people like Marcus Corvon and Kevin Thorne or people like that you never heard from again. And I remember that the ECW, so I think I'm going to eliminate them. And then the ECW team was Sabu, Van Dam, Dreamer, and Sandman. And out of all of them, considering the success or lack of that they had, I would imagine that the only person who had a match again would have been RVD. So that would be my answer.
So obviously, what we do when we do these questions is not. We obviously don't show our working when we answer the questions. So moving straight on, Paul.
Sorry.
Cheers, Dean.
I'll let you off.
Sorry, 1 second. Yeah, Richard. Yep, Richard. Yeah, could you turn his broadband off again, please, mate? Yeah,
Richard.
Yeah.
Brano.
No.
Is that Brano?
Yeah, no. I prefer Coca-Cola. That Virgin Cola was rubbish, but great Pamela Anderson advert that you got to do it. So yeah, all right. See ya. Bye. Okay. WrestleMania 24. Oh, he's gone. See, that was quick. We're good old friends. Right. WrestleMania 24.
Branson had me in a pickle. Terrible.
Brilliant. WrestleMania 24 featured an interpromotional Raw versus SmackDown match. Who represented Raw in that match? WrestleMania 24 featured an interpromotional Raw versus SmackDown match. Who represented Raw in that match?
Do you know what? I think I know what the match was, and I don't know who was on which brand.
That's why I said it like that. My first draft of the question was, what was the match? But then I said, you know what? Let's be sneaky, as they would have said in Mr. Deeds. And let's ask who was the Raw representative. So yeah, who represented Raw in the interpromotional match at WrestleMania 24?
You're doing better than me.
Did you just quote Mr. Deeds?
Great film. Underappreciated film.
Do you mean the original or the remake?
I mean the Adam Sandler remake, which is phenomenally funny.
Absolute dross.
Rob, I'll say this every time we talk films. You don't actually like films. Your opinion
I don't like
on
Adam
films,
Sandler. I think Adam Sandler should be slowly fed into an industrial threat. I think he's about as good an actor as this thermos.
Your opinion, all I'll say is watch Punch Drunk Love before you make that assertion. Okay. Your opinion on films is worth about as much as my opinion on nuclear physics.
Well, I wouldn't expect you to have an opinion on nuclear physics, but
nor would I expect you to have one on films.
Mr. Deeds is a dreadful film. The original, I believe, is a Jerry Lewis film, which is not terrible. But I went to see Mr. Deeds at the cinema, and it was atrocious. In
all seriousness, Adam Sandler makes very bad films generally, but when he wants to act, he can act. And that's probably the same for a lot. He chooses to make bad films. That's where the money is. But when he wants to do it, he can absolutely do it. So, Dean, do you want to have a stab at this, or do you want Rob to?
I have not got the first clue. I do not remember this at all. We're going into an era that I am very sketchy on, I have to say.
Right, let's let Rob go for it.
I am going to say one name. I'm not going to say who I think the opponent was. So I would just go for who I think was on Raw, and I will say Umaga.
Okie doke. Right, WrestleMania 25.
Umanga.
Yes,
legal used to call him.
Umanga. Which I think might. Oh no, we won't go into that. Number 25. Who was the oldest person to wrestle a match at WrestleMania 25? Who was the oldest person to wrestle a match at WrestleMania 25?
You bar steward.
That is WrestleMania 25. Look at that! Look, anniversary wrong. There was the 24th anniversary of WrestleMania, of course.
Always peed me off that one.
And they're very bad at anniversaries in the WWE.
Can you imagine how annoying that is for Rob? He went to the WrestleMania and the pedant in chief has to wear a T-shirt saying the 25th anniversary of WrestleMania, the one that was actually the 24th anniversary of WrestleMania. I'm surprised he hasn't ritualistically burnt that T-shirt years ago.
Or just got a marker pen and put 4 on it.
I should have taken a sign, shouldn't I, and held up a sign saying, "This is not the 25th anniversary."
It'd have been quite a long sign, though. You would have needed 3 or 4 people to explain it properly.
Have you ever seen the Brendan Burns sign for Great Khali? I think it's Great Khali. It might be Mark.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh yes, I can't remember what it was. I remember going to the comedy show that he did. He told this story about.
Yeah, I don't know the exact wording, but it said something. I know it began with the word "sir." It said, "Sir, we are not booing you because of your ability as a heel wrestler. We are booing you because you are simply awful."
That was
I love the idea that only Brendan would come up with a sign that started with the word "sir."
Sir, yes.
Guys, we're going to move through.
That's a great line.
We're going to move through a slightly greater clip now, so I'm going to give you an answer, and then we'll go into bonus points. But my answer is Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Okay, so the answer to the. Sorry.
I was going to say I had no clue on what this on what the card was, so I was going to make an educated guess at Vince McMahon, but I might be very wrong.
That's not. I wouldn't say that's a terrible guess.
I bet like Mae Young was in the women's battle royal or something like that. But hey ho, I've said it now. I've said Superfly Snuka, so let's go with it. So right,
let's have this message here from Jay Waldo. Let's celebrate the 24th anniversary by having a man win a women's battle royal. In brackets, Stephanie McMahon Helmsley. Is she a man?
She's a McMahon.
Yeah,
Which,
I think that's a bit. I think
if
that's
you were
harsh.
If she's a male bought from McDonald's. She's a McMahon. Anyway, I'll get my coat. Right, the first question in this round is 26, isn't it? So it's 21. So it's you.
21 at WrestleMania 21. Who interrupted Roddy Piper and Steve Austin in Piper's Pit?
Paul said Carlito, didn't he?
He did. He's telling his wine drinking badly again. But yes, Carlito is the right answer. 22.
Don't you bloody tell me off, as well as Adam Bomb and my wife. Right, question 22. What was the longest match on the card at WrestleMania 22? You said it was a triple threat between Ray, Orton, and Angle. Dean mentioned Mick Foley and Edge, which was on the card. Wrong. It was actually the main event. John Cena against Triple H was the longest.
I just could not place that WrestleMania at all.
Of course, Triple H would have the longest match of the night.
There you go. So right, 23. Rob, 23.
Have I got the wrong year with the Ray thing? Is that the year that Cena came back?
That was the year. That was the year.
Oh, okay. Okay. Number 23. There was an 8-man tag at WrestleMania 23. Of the 8 participants, who was the only one to have had at least one more main card WrestleMania match? As Dean said, it was the ECW Originals versus, I think they called them the New Breed, didn't they?
They did.
Taking the name from an old WCW gimmick with Yoshi Kwan and others. But as Dean said, there was some excellent wrestlers in that match, and Tommy Dreamer.
Dickhead.
And of course, Marcus Corvon was in there. Marcus Corvon is his birthday on Tuesday. I happen to know that. But the only person to have had at least one more main card Mania match, as Dean said, Rob Van Dam.
Cracking. Right, WrestleMania 24. I asked you to name the Raw representative in the interpromotional match. The match was, as I think Rob knew, was Umaga against Batista. And the representative from Raw was Umaga. So you got it right.
I knew the match. I just wasn't sure which way around they were. I took a stab. The oldest person to wrestle a match at WrestleMania 25 was Jimmy Superfly Snuka.
Who, of course, loves Ginster's cheese and onion pasties.
No. I thought you were going to say to me, I was about to remove you from the feed. My hand didn't work fast enough. But let's bring Chris in before you elaborate on that any further. Chris, let's have some bonus points, my friend.
Yeah, cool. Right, bonus points for that set of 5 are Jason Butler 3, Leanne Culverhouse 2, Malcolm Marr 2, Will Kitchen 2, Adam Frand 1, David Reed 1, John Cahillane 1, Jordan Pritchett 1, Lee Hennis 1, and Josh Chapman 1. That's Jason Butler 3, Leanne Culverhouse 2, Malcolm Marr 2, Will Kitchen 2, Adam Frand 1, David Reed 1, John Cahillane 1, Jordan Pritchett 1, Lee Hennis 1, and Josh Chapman 1.
Fantastic stuff. So, guys, give us your totals for that round in the comments. And I've done the draw for the next DVD, which is, funnily enough, because we've just talked about it, you can watch the Umaga Batista match if you win this, or you can watch it on the network. Thank you again to WWE Home Video for WrestleMania 24 on DVD. That will go to Jack Taylor, who I believe is a debutante in our quizzes. I'm not 100% sure about that, but I don't recognize the name. So, Jack, you win the WrestleMania 24 DVD. So that's all the WrestleMania's done. So the next prize will be SummerSlam on DVD. But let's go straight into the next round. We'll start on WrestleMania 26. WrestleMania 26, John Cena won the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 26. Who did he defeat to win that belt? John Cena won the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 26. Who did he defeat to win that belt?
Okay, I think I've got that. Quick congratulations there to Jack Taylor. One of the many strings to his bow, of course. He is a series on Netflix about an Irish detective, starring that bloke from Game of Thrones, and he was also the referee of the 1974 World Cup final. So it's been a big journey for him up till now to win this DVD. But congratulations for his continued success.
And at one point, he was Britain's fattest man.
Is that right?
I'm not sure. It might have been this Jack Taylor. I don't know. Jack, please stick up for yourself. Were you ever Britain's fattest man?
I actually was once. At one point, I was
Devon's fattest man.
I was Britain's youngest. At one stage, I was Britain's youngest person. Very, very briefly.
And
See,
Jack
that's
hates,
great
Jack hates us
feedback.
all.
Great feedback. Our Google star ratings are going through the roof.
Say, he shouldn't hate us all. He should hate Dean. Because I congratulated him on his DVD with being a referee in a World Cup final and for being an excellent show on Netflix. It was only this prick over there that said about him being a fat bloke.
It's a good rule for life, by the way. That everyone should hate Dean. That's just a good rule for life. By the way, Dean, I remember when you were part of my favourite act in wrestling. Genuinely, I've never told you this, but years and years before I met you, I was like absolutely enthralled with your act with Paul Burchill. Like, and I genuinely thought you were like the Britain's answer to Paul Heyman. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal. I don't know why I'm telling you that now. I've never told you that before.
Never paid anyone. Balding.
But just occurred to me today that I'd never told you that. I thought you were absolutely bloody awesome when I saw you do that. And that was the first time I'd ever seen you do your thing. So that's it, really. Don't know why I've chosen now to say that. Let's get a room.
Thank
you. Right. Okay. So where were we? We're on to question WrestleMania 27. So that's Rob's.
I didn't answer 26. I think the answer to 26. Who's Cena beat for the title? Was that the question?
It was.
I think it was Batista.
Okay. Right. 27.
Do you agree, Dean?
I haven't a clue. I'll go with that. Sounds viable.
Fair enough. Thank you for your support. Number 27. Who was the guest referee for the classic Michael Cole versus Jerry Lawler match at WrestleMania 27? Who was the guest referee for the classic Michael Cole versus Jerry Lawler match at WrestleMania 27?
Yeah.
Oh,
that was a classic.
Jack Taylor also scores for Peterborough. I did forget. Yeah, that's true. Actually, Peterborough have a striker called Jack Taylor. I had forgotten about that.
there's worse things than having a footballer with the same name as you. The
you've
former
got one,
Dagenham and
haven't you?
Redbridge and Luton Town striker keeps me being completely ungoogleable. So it's
Fair point, actually. You played for better teams. You were at Charlton at one point. Dean's podcast co-host Liam would remind you that you played for Charlton.
But I didn't do much. But Southend and Dagenham and Redbridge and Southend were my high point, my namesake's high points. Anyway, WrestleMania 27. Just say the question one more time and I'll answer it.
Who was the guest referee for the classic Michael Cole versus Jerry Lawler match?
He was the basically, if you ever need a guest referee at WrestleMania from about WrestleMania 17 onwards, you ask this man to be guest referee. Because I suspect if the question was who has guest refereed at more WrestleManias than anybody else, this is the answer, and it's Stone Cold Steve Austin.
You think it's probably Piper, Foley, and Pat Patterson's done a couple, isn't he? But yeah.
And am I right in thinking that Austin's first WrestleMania match had a guest referee in Ken Shamrock? Was that his first Mania match?
No, he would have had.
He wrestled Savio Vega at 12.
Vega.
Yeah. Thanks, Austin, for screwing up my question.
Good effort, that.
Look at that.
Look at that there.
Josh, how much do I have to pay you to get Swindon Town's Paul Benson's match worn shorts from you?
He could argue that as he's a contributor to the site, you should pay him anyway, but that's another issue.
Shush. We only earn about £3.50 a day. I can't afford to pay anyone. Right, okay. WrestleMania 28. The main event. This is one of Rob.
Sorry. That made me choke. I was drinking my beer at the wrong time. There's so much that's funny about that.
We've completely lost. This is the point of the quiz, by the way. By the way, newbies, this is the point of the quiz where everything goes completely to shit. but it's all good.
Yeah.
My first thought there was, isn't that Johnny Vegas? And I realised that's Michael Pennington, not Michael Remington.
Good knowledge.
Right, WrestleMania 28. Okay, this is one of Rob's favourite types of questions, and it's one that doesn't matter.
Non sequitur.
That's the one. The main event of WrestleMania 28 was a non-title match between The Rock and John Cena. But what was the last WrestleMania before this one to be headlined by a non-title match?
No, that's not non sequitur. That's okay. The question, I had both sides have a point. That's okay.
And by headline, we mean main event, last match on the card. Main event at WrestleMania 28 was a non-title match between The Rock and John Cena. But what was the last WrestleMania before this to be headlined by a non-title match? And I will accept either the year or the number of the WrestleMania as the answer. Nothing else. Don't tell me what the match was. Give me the year or the number of the WrestleMania.
I think I've got it.
Yeah, I'm okay with this. This could.
I think Jack feels like one of us already, doesn't he? Jack knows, yeah.
He gets it.
See you next Sunday, Jack.
Do you know the show I'm talking? So he'll be fed up of people talking about this show. But do you know the show I'm talking about? Have you ever seen it?
Never heard of it.
It's quite a good program. It's got the bloke in it from Game of Thrones.
Which one? There's about 3,000 actors.
Well, I was going to explain, wasn't I? Before I got interrupted.
Everyone who's ever had an equity card was in Game of Thrones.
Well, Adam Sandler's not in it because he's fucking useless. But it's it was the guy that was the lieutenant to Daenerys, the one that she sends him away and then he comes back again.
The guy from Sheffield.
Well, he's Irish and Jack Taylor, so I assumed he was Irish, but maybe he's just doing a voice for it. But
he might be. Who knows?
I think it's called Ian. I think it's called Ian something.
Ian, yeah. I'm not sure.
It's very good. It's a detective show that's set in Galway.
Oh my God! I've just found out Adam Farrand is a teacher.
What do you mean? Oh my God! What's wrong with that?
We have Ian Glenn.
That come and do our
Nicholas
thing.
Nicholas Bowater's correct. Ian Glenn.
Right. Let's have the answer anyway.
I am sorry. I've leapt straight in there, but
you take this one, Dean. Go on.
I was going to say I'm reasonably confident, unless I'm forgetting a match, that it's 11. WrestleMania 11.
No, I think I'm reasonably confident the Dean's forgetting a match.
Oh,
it's WrestleMania 26.
Okay, right. Let's have number 29.
Number 29. Who beat Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 29? Who beat Chris Jericho at WrestleMania 29?
There was a question on the chase.
No,
earlier.
that says the answer. That says don't say that. Tell that later.
I'm not going to
Tell
say
that later. Yeah.
I know the answer to this one.
Do you- I
WrestleMania
don't
29. WrestleMania 29, by the way, for those that care, was the first ever WrestleMania party. WrestleMania hooked on party. It was our second ever party. Our first ever one was Royal Rumble 2013. Our first WrestleMania was WrestleMania 29, and the feeling of amazing. We had 70 people for the first one. We had 250 people for WrestleMania 29, and it just felt like we had captured lightning in a bottle. And ever since then, I've been obsessed with bringing wrestling fans together in a more casual setting, like not just at wrestling events and not online sniping at each other, but bringing us all together to have beers like we would in the pub watching football. In the one night, we can all just be ourselves. We can wear silly fancy dress. We can talk about 5-star matches between Bruno Sammartino and CM Punk. We can just be wrestling fans. And I am absolutely desperate to get back to doing that as soon as possible. SummerSlam. It's got to be SummerSlam. It's got to be. So I'm sick of predicting it and it being wrong. I'm definitely not wrong on this one. We are coming back for SummerSlam. The answer, by the way,
Go on.
I'm gonna give to you in the medium of song. Da 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 da. It's Ryback. No, it's
It was that one.
Very good, Paul.
Fandango.
I like that. Number 30, sir.
Number 30 is possibly my favourite question I've written for the whole quiz. So listen carefully. Yes, Callum, we will be in Aberdeen again, my friend. Absolutely certain. Question number 30, not including the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Okay, so take that out of the equation for this question. Take out the equation, the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, but not including that match. There were only 2 men on the entire card who have not won world titles in WWE at some point in their career. Name them.
Wow. The entire card?
On the entire card of WrestleMania 30, not including the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, there were 2 men. And by the way, when I say world titles, I mean for the benefit of the newcomers, I mean Universal title, World Heavyweight Championship, undisputed title, the top title on a brand at any given time. There's only 2 men on the entire WrestleMania card.
Just in case, would you include the ECW title?
It's irrelevant in this instance, but no,
Okay.
I wouldn't actually, funnily enough. There are only 2 men on the card for WrestleMania 30 that have never won a world title level belt in WWE, not including the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. Name both of them. This is my absolute favorite question. I remember I looked at this and went,
do you know what? This is too good. Apologies for what I'm about to say, Dean. This is too good a question to be wasted on a pair of arseholes like us. He's had lots of concussions and I haven't paid attention for 10 years.
Sorry.
I don't know any WrestleManias since about 26, 27.
The other thing I must preface it by saying men's matches, obviously, because women, the world title situation with women wrestling has been much more fluid. So I mean male wrestlers only.
Okay, deal with John's question and then we'll give our answers.
Oh, God.
John, simple question, mate. Abso-bloody-lutely. I will have a note of it somewhere. Absolutely right. It's very much valid.
Mick Conley's got 3 people apparently, so we're not including the Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
We're not including the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, and we're not including the women.
Yeah, I remember this WrestleMania because I came to Shepherd's Bush in London dressed as the $1 Million Man.
That's right, you did, and I fell asleep before the streak ended because
you fell asleep before. Yes.
It was the first ever Hooked on Wrestling event where I was doing multiple venues, and the stress levels were so high
that you got pissed.
that I didn't have a drink, and I was so stressed. I was training for a marathon as well at the time, so I haven't drunk for 13 weeks. And then the moment I realized that it was all going well and everything was sound and all the events aside all about, I just got bought Jaeger bomb after Jaeger bomb after Jaeger bomb, and I passed out before the streak. Literally passed out. There was for those that weren't there was a hostel above it that we used to stay in, like bunk beds and stuff. And I literally had to get dragged upstairs by two of my friends and thrown in bed before the streak ended. And I remember one person waking up in the morning going, "The Undertaker's lost." And I was like, "What?" So yeah, just to repeat the question, not including the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, at WrestleMania 30, there are only two men that wrestled on the card that have never won a world title ever belt in WWE. Name them. And I'm going to ask you to name them now because you've had enough time to stall. Rob's been thinking. Dean's been conversing. Rob's been thinking.
I'm a pass. I have not got a clue.
It's a great question. I will pat myself on the back for this. It's a fantastic question.
Yeah,
it is a good question. I'll tell you what I'm going to go for because I'm really struggling. So I'm going to go for two people that I feel were around at that time. I can't think of what match they might have been in, but they were certainly a big part of the show around this time. So I am going to say Eric Rowan and Luke Harper.
Okie doke. Right. Well, that's the end of the block of 5. So let's go back and answer them. So we started with 26, didn't we? John Cena, WrestleMania 26. John Cena won the WWE Championship at WrestleMania 26. Who did he defeat at the event? I've tried to mix up the complicated and the simple in this one. And this is a very simple one. The answer is Batista.
WrestleMania 26 is the oddest WrestleMania in the sense that the build-up was absolutely brilliant, and the show was pretty shit.
Absolutely,
it really didn't live up, but that match did.
That
was a tremendous build-up to WrestleMania 26, and John Cena Batista was an excellent match. Most of the rest of it was rubbish.
At the time, I didn't have Sky, and the WWE Network didn't exist, and you could buy the pay-per-view on the WWE website for $50. For $50, and I was so excited by the build for WrestleMania 26. I paid the $50 and bought it and watched it on the website. What a waste of money!
Terrible WrestleMania.
Yeah, terrible.
But that match was good.
But I would say if the opinion question was what is the best build to a WrestleMania of all time, this is top 3.
Stunning. But it's the year. It's the year that TNA went to Mondays, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
the build started with Brett and Shawn, which was January the 4th. I was on honeymoon and I was in the Maldives and we had no internet on this island, and I put my 4G on and I knew it was going to cost me to look at the wrestling results, but I was so keen to see them that I spent £45 looking at the Raw results that day. But hey, anyway, question WrestleMania 27. Let's go with it. This is you, Rob.
Who was the guest referee for the classic Michael Cole versus Jerry Lawler match at WrestleMania 27? It was, of course, Steve Austin.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, when in doubt, as you say, when in doubt, go for Steve Austin.
Yeah, WrestleMania apparently is going to be an hour late. It's probably because of storms, but I like to think it's because we're running late, so they're just going to wait for us. So WrestleMania 28, the main event of this show was a non-title match between The Rock and John Cena. But what was the last WrestleMania before this? It was headlined by a non-title match. Dean was very wrong. Rob was very right. It was WrestleMania 26. So you could have said WrestleMania 26 or 2010, and it was Shawn Michaels against The Undertaker.
Oh, this career v streak. You see, I was thinking Lawrence Taylor and Bam Bam Bigelow. Do you know what? That was such a big match that in my head I thought it was for a title or something. It wasn't. It was career v streak. That was also the WrestleMania where I think it either overran or there was some viewing party, not a hooked on party. I hate to drag. There was some viewing party in Glasgow where they got the license wrong, and they only were allowed to open for a certain amount of time, and they basically underran it by an hour, and so the police were chucking people out when Michaels and Undertaker were on.
Brilliant.
That brings shivers to my fucking spine, dude. Believe me.
Apparently, there was some drunk Glaswegian bloke trying to explain to a copper why they had to stay because it was the streakery career. But he didn't get very far. Yeah.
WrestleMania 29.
Who beat Jericho at WrestleMania 29? He did it on his way to starting a revolution. Fandango. If you put Fandango, wrong. It's Fandango. No, of course you can have it for Fandango because that's the correct answer. Fandango.
Who was an answer on the chase tonight? The question was, which WWE superstar is named after a Spanish dance? And all the contestants on the final chase were just like, what the?
What were the other options?
Well, there was no options because it was the final chase. They all got together.
Right.
The chaser got asked it. Sean Wallace got asked it, and Sean was like, "I have absolutely no bloody idea." Mark the bet. Funny enough, would have got it straight away, wouldn't he? Yeah. Funny enough, he would have got it. But Sean Wallace didn't have a clue, and then the contestants just all looked at each other and went tango. And I felt so sorry for them because they had absolutely no chance of getting it unless they knew wrestling. It's fine. Tango. Right?
Did they ask also ask the question who invented the term Fandango Revolution?
No, they didn't because it was
because that was me. Next question.
Question for WrestleMania 30. Not including the Andre the Giant Battle Royal, there were only 2 men on the card who have not won world titles in WWE at some point in their career. Rob said Harper and Rowan, who were on the card as seconds for Bray Wyatt. They weren't actually in matches.
Okay.
The answers, bizarrely, and this is why it's such a good question on so many levels, it's such a generational shift. The answers are Billy Gunn and Road Dogg.
Oh, because they came back.
Who tagged with Kane to face the Shield. How good is that question? They should not be on WrestleMania 30. There is no conceivable reason why the New Age Outlaws should be at WrestleMania 30. But they were the only two. They were the only 2 men to not be world champions. How crazy is that?
That is amazing. Can I just very quickly address this? Mick says that about Fandango. It entered the UK charts. It didn't quite, actually. It didn't quite. It made the midweeks and the iTunes charts. It didn't quite make the top 40 because there was a very concerted effort that was led by Tom, who's wrestling memes. Tom at Wrestling Memes with my help. We genuinely every night of the week that week had a phone call or text back and forth deciding what was going to be our way of going the following day. So one day we were tweeting people from Strictly Come Dancing and various things like that. I think I got retweets from Karen Hauer and Christina Rianoff or whatever what she's called on Strictly Come Dancing. Not Kevin Clifton.
But not Kevin Clifton. Who's the biggest wrestling fan I've ever met.
But I didn't know that at the time. And then we were asking football clubs to play the music at their next game, which Everton did. Everton played the music at Goodison Park. But when it got to the Sunday and the charts was on, whoever was doing the charts at the time, I think it might have been not Greg James, the other one.
Reggie Yates.
And they did whoever, but they did the charts and they said, and by the way, if you've tuned in to find out about Fandango, it didn't quite make it. It didn't make it, but they did make a point of saying, if you've tuned in for this. There we go.
By the way, Mick, that was me. And also didn't quite make it. Made it to about number 53 or something like that. But we got quite close. Yeah, we did that. Just before the Jeff Jarrett tour. Rampant publicity stunt. Okay, so we're into the 30s now, aren't we? So we're into the last leg. We're into the last quarter of the quiz. So Rob, you're on question 31, WrestleMania 31.
Chris Hatch.
Oh shit, bonus points. Sorry, mate. And prizes. God, I'm trying to get us ahead.
Don't worry, I'll keep my bit quick because you're definitely not going to speed up, you guys. So, right, we've got bonus points for that 5. We've got Jason Butler 4, Lee Lower 3, Leanne Culverhouse 2, Adam Frand 1, Darren Wilkes 1, Jack Taylor 1, Lee Hennis 1, Michael Phoenix 1, and Tom MK 1. That's Jason Butler 4, Lee Lower 3, Leanne Culverhouse 2, Adam Frand 1, Darren Wilkes 1, Jack Taylor 1, Lee Hennis 1, Michael Phoenix 1, and Tom MK 1.
Some good scores there, mate. Did you I can't remember what I was going to say now. Adam's right. I'm absolutely plastered. But the what I was going to say is, how do you think I feel leaving these two to their own devices? I'm actually the sensible one in this triumvirate, which is ridiculous.
I understand why you want to hurry up. WrestleMania is 2.5 hours away. we've got to fill some time.
That's a fair
No need
point.
to hurry up. No need to hurry up whatsoever.
That's a fair point. Right. So we're going to give away where is it? 30 years of SummerSlam on this one. And we're going to do this slightly different. We're not going to do this with a random draw. We're not going to do this with a random draw. We're going to do this with a slight kind of trivia type question, right? Okay. So I told you earlier, my son Samuel's favorite wrestler is Walter. Okay. But he also told me today that his favorite old wrestler is a guy that once won the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. The first person to put that name in a chat wins the DVD. It's an old wrestler that won the Intercontinental Championship at WrestleMania. The first person to put that name in the comments wins the SummerSlam DVD. It's not Bret Hart, Tom, or Will. It's not Rick Rude, Malcolm Marr, thankfully. That'd be weird. It's definitely not Zack Ryder. It's Ricky Steamboat. Lee Lower wins the DVD. Randomly, my little boy is an enormous Ricky Steamboat fan. And the reason he's given is because he loves his match with Randy Savage and he's never been a bad guy. They are his residents. So Lee, you win SummerSlam Best of 30 Years on DVD.
Just going to say, I'm looking. There's nothing official about WrestleMania being delayed yet that I can see. Please, someone correct me if I'm wrong, but it's rumours but nothing confirmed yet. But it has been raining all day in Tampa, basically.
They really need to make a decision to hold these things in bloody domes, don't they? Because it was going to get them eventually. Like, they've had so much good luck over the years, it was always going to get them eventually.
Yeah. Well, you know the story about WrestleMania 3.
We told it last night. Yeah.
Oh, did we? That must have been when my internet cut out. Okay, I'll stop.
Yes, we did. Right, good stuff. Okay, mate. Let's go into the final 10. So, it's Rob's WrestleMania 31 question. Oops, sorry, I got rid of Dean. I meant to get rid of Chris. See you, Chris.
Number 13. Number 31. Who, after winning a match at WrestleMania 31, retired from in-ring competition 5 days later? Who, after winning a match at WrestleMania 31, retired from in-ring competition 5 days later? I just popped away there briefly, but do I gather that Samuel's favourite old wrestler is Ricky Steamboat?
Yeah.
That lad is a legend.
His two favourite wrestlers are Ricky Steamboat and Walter.
That's what a match that would be.
Can you imagine the selling of those chops? I tell you, Ricky Steamboat, I say this to guys now, if you want to learn how to sell like a babyface, watch Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Absolutely fantastic.
Look at that. Danny has got an awesome child as well. His favourite wrestler is the Iron Sheik. He spits on this, a fool of Hulk Hogan. Right. Well, the obvious answer is the only one I can think of, and I bet you're stitching me up here, but I'm going to say Daniel Bryan.
I'm going to disagree.
Dean's disagreeing.
Celebrity Squares.
I think the answer is AJ Lee.
Ooh, good one. Good one. And I suspect that you're right, because Rob would have looked at that card and gone, I can dick pull around here. and the benefit of being friends with him for 10 years is that I kind of know how he thinks. And that's exactly what I was thinking. So you're unquestionably right. Right, WrestleMania 32.
Do you know what that tells me?
What?
It tells me you didn't like me for a year because I've known you 11. Next question.
No, it's a fair point. But I'm not saying which one of the 11 it was.
I think it's the last one.
Right, WrestleMania 32. Out of everyone who made their WrestleMania in-ring debuts at this event, only 2 were victorious. One was Charlotte Flair. The other was a man. Who was it? So there was a number of people that had their first WrestleMania match at this event. Okay. One of them was Charlotte Flair. Two of them were victorious. One was Charlotte Flair. Who was the other one? I'll just repeat that one more time just to make sure I'm completely clear, because I think it's a real. I've made a bit of a fist of that. Of all the people that had their first WrestleMania match at WrestleMania 32, two of them won their matches. One of them was Charlotte Flair. Who was the other one?
I've got to guess. I've thought of something that's a reasonable guess. I just want to address this from Adam. Paul went a bit Greedo from Star Wars Episode 1. And I don't know who that is, but it did make me think of how brilliant would Greedo be in Star Wars. I quite like that. I would immediately cast Greedo. I don't really watch Star Wars, but I would Greedo would be a brilliant Star Wars character, I'm sure. I think I might have a shout for this one. I'm trying to work out if it's the right amount of time ago, and I think it is. I might be, as Ken Bruce would say, 1 year out. But
Go on then, give us it.
I'm gonna. Dean, do you want to have a swing before I go for mine?
I'm not really certain. I have to say, I'm getting my ears muddled here, so I'm not sure.
I think it might be Baron Corbin.
Okay,
that's a good shout, actually.
Well,
yes,
I think that might be around about the time that Baron Corbin won the Battle Royal.
Yeah, Battle Royal, because they gave him a big push when he came in. That is a really good shout, if that's the right year.
I actually don't mind being wrong, because it's a good wrong answer if I'm wrong. So,
right, okay. WrestleMania 33, please, Rob.
WrestleMania number 33. I'm going to give you a quote. You are to tell me what happened next. Okay, this was said on the pay-per-view. You need to tell me what happened next. The quote is, "Now, I wonder who this fourth team could possibly be." What happened next? The quote is, "Now, I wonder who this fourth team could possibly be."
So I have to tell you what they said next, or what happened next?
What happened next?
Yep.
Okay. Well,
again, I'm picturing myself at a Hooked on Wrestling party, this time in Temple.
The absolute best reaction ever. But everyone will know this. This is quite an easy one, so I'm not going to dwell on this one. But the next thing that everyone happened was the New Day going, who?
No, they didn't. No, they didn't. No, they didn't. The crowd did. New Day did. No, New Day did. I've watched it to ask this question.
Really?
New Day didn't. The crowd did. They were expecting New Day to do that. The crowd did, and then something happened.
Okay.
How are you spelling that?
Hardy Boys, baby. Hardy Boys made their return to the WWE.
And I remember filming that on my phone.
Oh, is it you that did that filming? I've got that clip.
Yeah. And until Drew won the world title, that was the biggest pop in Hooked on Wrestling Party history.
There are 3 famous clips from Hooked on Wrestling Party history. That's the third. That is in third place. Second place is when Roman Reigns came out in the Royal Rumble in 2015, which made a compilation video of Roman Reigns reactions that got about 20 million views or something like that.
Was this when everyone was expecting it to be Daniel Bryan?
Correct. No. That was a year later. The most famous by far is Drew McIntyre winning the Royal Rumble, which actually made it into the WWE documentary about Daniel Bryan with our name tag on, which that's going to take some beating, isn't it? Right.
I don't know about being filmed. But I still think to me the most iconic one live. The Hardy one might have been louder, but to me the most iconic one live was when AJ Styles appeared in the Royal Rumble. The noise when AJ appeared in that Rumble was something
it was insane. It was insane. Right, WrestleMania 34. Name the 2 people at WrestleMania 34 who wrestled their first ever professional wrestling matches. Name the 2 people at WrestleMania 34 that wrestled their first ever professional wrestling matches at the event.
34. What year is it?
This is my second favorite question.
37 is that? 36 is that? 35 is that? I've got one of them, Dean. I think.
I've got one.
Hopefully we've got different ones so we can
At
approach
WrestleMania
it that way.
34, 2 people wrestled their first ever professional wrestling match. Name them.
Oh, crikey, what else was on 34? Where was 34? Was that on the
What
main
year?
show?
Hang on. What year was 34?
WrestleMania 34 was
3
2018.
years ago. 3 years ago.
So 2018. Are we saying?
Yep. we are.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay,
I'm
so
going
just
to go on
checking
1% battery. Hang on, and plug in.
So 2020 is this year. 2020 last year. I've watched. I'm going through my head thinking, right, 2020 and 21 I've watched at home because of the pandemic. 2019. I'm literally going back via my head on Hooked on Parties. That's an extreme close up of Rob there. It's terrifying.
I'm now going to have to go big face Rob and slightly quieter Rob because I've had to take my headset out because I'm on 1% battery. So,
I mean, admittedly, Vince McMahon's face last night was more terrifying. He looked like a waxwork, but
God, Rob looks very terrifying. Right, give us an answer. Give us the one. Right, Dean, go on. Give us both of them. Give us both of them, Dean.
Rob.
No, Rob, you go for the one you thought because I think it's the same as me.
The one I think I've got two, but the one I first thought of that I'm fairly confident about is Ronda Rousey.
And I'm going to say, is this the same year that we saw? And I think from your face, I'm right. Is this Nicholas, who was Braun Strowman's tag partner? Because I remember, I'm going back in my head, I remember Mossy, Johnny Moss from Hammerlock, who's now a trainer in NXT. I remember him in the background while they were looking for someone. And part of me was like, they're not going to put Mossy in, are they? And then obviously they got...
That's a good shout.
He was the referee's son. John Cone, the referee, his son.
I was potentially going to say Shaquille O'Neal, that maybe he was in the Battle Royal at that point.
I
think I'd go Nicholas.
Okay, cool. Okay, so WrestleMania 35.
WrestleMania 35. Which team won a fatal 4-way tag match to claim tag team gold for the first time?
I know this.
Which team?
I know this.
Won a fatal 4-way tag match to claim tag team gold for the first time at WrestleMania 35.
Well, we'll go quickly on this one. We'll just give the guys 30 seconds to answer because we are approaching 11 o'clock and we are still on WrestleMania 35. We've still got another. This is the last question round. We've got one more round to go. So I am going to give an answer now. And my answer is, I'm stalling a little bit, obviously, the Iconics.
Happy with that, Dino?
I did not have a clue. I was going to guess at Bludgeon Brothers, but with absolutely no degree of confidence.
Okay, let's do the answers to those five. Number 31, after winning a match at WrestleMania 31, who retired from in-ring competition 5 days later? AJ Lee.
Well done, Dean. WrestleMania 32. Out of everyone who made their WrestleMania debuts at this event, only 2 were victorious. One was Charlotte Flair. The other was a man. Who was it? Baron Corbin.
Yes.
Oh, well done.
Battle Royal.
Days.
I remember seeing him there. I was there in the stadium and the ring just filled full of completely random guys. I'm like, is that Tatanka? For no reason whatsoever. And then there's this big black guy and I'm like, is that Shaquille O'Neal just randomly making his professional wrestling debut with no fanfare whatsoever in the arena at all? Oh, yes, it is. And that's Baron Corbin, so he's clearly going to win. And I'd call it the minute the match happened. But anyway, sorry, WrestleMania 33.
33. Now, I wonder who this fourth team could possibly be. Indeed. What happened next is the Hardy Boys music hit. So if you have any sort of version of the Hardys came out, the Hardys music hit, and anything, I think the word Hardys is key. But anything to do with Jeff and Matt Hardy, then have a point.
Right, WrestleMania 34. Name the two people who wrestled their first professional wrestling matches at WrestleMania 34. Dean, you screwed me, my friend. I thought I was going to get you both here. It is Ronda Rousey and Nicholas. Great answer. And 35.
And 35, the team that won tag team gold for the first time at WrestleMania 35, as Paul said, the Iconics.
Ah, cool.
Fantastic. So let's bring Chris in for some bonus puentes. Hello, my friend.
Hello, right, let's get these done. We've got Adam Ferrand 5, Lee Lower 3, Jason Butler 2, Tom MK 2, Darren Wilkes 1, Jack Taylor 1, and Sarah Golding 1. That's Adam Ferrand 5, Lee Lower 3, Jason Butler 2, Tom MK 2, Darren Wilkes 1, Jack Taylor 1, and Sarah Golding 1.
Fantastic. Right. And now we are on to the prize draw for the T-shirt, for the WrestleMania T-shirt that you might have seen on the group earlier. This is from WWE Euroshop, and it's the one with the big fat luchador on, which is quite brilliant, actually. And the winner is Tom Birtles. So, Tom, congratulations! You win the WrestleMania T-shirt, and that will be sent to you by WWE Euroshop. So, again, after the quiz, when we're all finished with all the answers, please send us your address and your T-shirt size, and we'll get out to you as quick as we possibly can. So, we're in the back five now, as Rob would say. So, we've got obviously two more WrestleManias to go. So, we're going to ask one question on WrestleMania 36, one for each night of WrestleMania 37. Which will take us 38 questions in total. And then Rob and I have both got a wild card question, which could be anything WrestleMania related. So I'm just going to go and grab the prize. 1 second. Bear with me, just literally 1 second.
Literally one. Okay. Bad use of the word literally there from Paul.
Jamie Redknapp levels.
Yeah, that was indeed. That was a very Jamie Redknapp thing to do, wasn't it?
So
I mean, it was only about 5 or 10, you know.
It wasn't many, but it just wasn't literal. That's the thing.
That's the prize. That's our final prize of the evening that will be drawn at the end of this round. So
that belt is currently held by your cat, I believe.
I think it should be. Right. Question 36 is about WrestleMania 36 last year. Only one main roster championship was not defended at WrestleMania 36. Which one? Only one main roster championship was not defended at WrestleMania 36. Which one was that? And I'm sure you all understand what I mean by main roster, but just to clarify, not NXT, not NXT UK.
Live.
Yeah. No, not 205 Live. Although they don't have any defined belts themselves, but not NXT, not anything with NXT in a title, basically. So what was the only main roster championship that was not defended at WrestleMania 36? By the way, can we have some feedback on the questions tonight? I think they've been pretty bloody good in terms of different subject matters, different difficulty levels. I'm quite proud of our quiz tonight. I'm really pleased. It's the ultimate WrestleMania quiz. And we even had, ultimately, the man who lost in one of the quickest matches in WrestleMania history appearing at our quiz. So
you didn't mention that, did you?
No, didn't mention that. Because he's not quite, he honestly, because the last time I mentioned it, he couldn't give a shit. Like, he's like, I wrestled at WrestleMania 10 for 10 seconds. I'm much more interested in winning the All Japan titles. Fair play to him. So, can someone give me an answer on this one?
I think it's the United States title. I can't remember that being defended.
I really haven't a clue. Last year's WrestleMania was just a nothing to me. So
yeah, I agree.
I'll say the Intercontinental title.
Okay, so Intercontinental and US title. Right, so Rob is next. So we're going to WrestleMania. So we've done the pass now, almost. So we're going into WrestleMania 37. So Rob's going to ask you a question on last night's WrestleMania. Hopefully not involving the weather. I'm going to ask you a question on tonight's WrestleMania, and then we'll both have a wild card each to finish up. So go for it, mate.
So we've had to, at the start of the night, you had to cast your mind back 36 years. Now you're only having to do it for about 21 or 2 hours. So this is taking the timings from those that I have seen from Jason Powell's ProWrestling.net. Okay, he's someone I trust, and he timed the matches last night. So based on Jason Powell's ProWrestling.net, what was the longest match at last night's night one of WrestleMania 37.
Well,
So
straight
what
away,
was it-
Sorry, go on.
What did you say?
No, I was going to say straight away, screwed me, because last night was just one big weird moment. I was so tired throughout the whole thing. I actually fell asleep before the main event. Samuel was absolutely engaged by the whole thing. Like he actually, when I disappeared from the quiz, he actually woke me up. Like not woke me up, but I was going to go, I prepared all our snacks and stuff, and I was going to prepare all our snacks and then go and wake him up. And he actually came downstairs. He's like, "Daddy, is it time? Is it time for WrestleMania?" And the big grin on his face was like it was Christmas morning, which was unbelievably great to see. And then he sat and watched the whole thing, rain delay, everything, totally engaged, never bored, never tired. It was absolutely the best night of my life. Unbelievably good fun with my little boy.
That is brilliant.
It was so good. I expected the worst. As I think I said on it last night, I expected him to watch one match, get bored, fall asleep. And he was talking, some of the stuff he was talking about, he was like, it was really insane. Like he was making these like, why did they do this? What, like he was basically saying, why did they make Braun Strowman look silly? Like he was basically saying, why do they stick gunk on him? And basically, he was basically asking the questions as to why, as we always ask. And I was like, dear me. But anyway, I fell asleep before the end of the main event is the answer. Only about 2 minutes before, but I think the longest match last night was probably actually Strowman Shane.
Well, that's a good shout. I was thinking it was either the first or the last. I was going to go for Lashley and Drew.
I feel like they're all within a few minutes of each other. That's kind of the problem, and we'll touch on this in a bit. But I feel like there was no crescendos in last night's WrestleMania. It was all flatlined. Quality, but very, very on a level. And again, we'll go into this when we've done the quiz and we do our few hours of WrestleMania retrospective. But I think Shane Strowman.
Okay, you'll go then. 38.
Okay, so a question about tonight. Right, listen carefully, guys. Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, and Edge will face off in the main event of night 2 tonight.
True.
How many previous WrestleMania main events have they competed in combined? So between Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, and Edge, how many WrestleMania main events have they competed in? And I'll reiterate that by main event we mean last match on the card. So between the three combatants, Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, Edge, how many WrestleMania main events have they got between them?
Not including tonight.
Not including tonight. No, absolutely not including tonight. Ones that have happened.
Okay. I think I've got an answer.
Go on then. Give us your answer, but don't give us any working out. And then Dean can give us his answer.
6.
Yours is 6. Dean, what's your answer?
I am going to use the McNichol rule of thinking up all the ones I can remember and adding 1. So I will go 7.
To be fair, it's a bloody good rule. It's a bloody good rule, that one. But
and I'll show my workings when we come around to the answers.
6 for Rob, 7 for Dean. Right, so we come into the last 2 questions of the quiz. And these are wildcard questions, right? So we've run out of WrestleManias and we need to get to a round number of 40. So Rob has been assigned to ask any question about WrestleMania. As long as it's WrestleMania themed, he can ask it, as have I. So Rob, you go first. I'll go second.
Question number 39. Of all of the wrestlers that The Undertaker has wrestled at WrestleMania, how many of them have never held a world title in the WWF/WWE? Of all the wrestlers that have wrestled The Undertaker at WrestleMania, how many of them have never held a world championship in the WWF/WWE? So similar to Paul's criteria earlier on about champions, we're talking WWF title, WWE title, World Heavyweight Champion, Raw Champion, SmackDown Champion, Universal Champion, that level of belt. That's what we're talking. But in that company only, Vince's company only, of all the people that Undertaker wrestled, how many of them have never been world champion in that company? And again, you don't need to name them. You just need to say a number. So if it's too late and too long into the weekend for you to be working it out, you can just throw a number out there and hope for the best, or you can have some fun and work it through. See, Mick is thinking about the McNichol rule, which is interesting. I didn't realise I was going to be giving my name to that, but there are worse things to be giving your name to.
I'm not going to use the McNichol method on this one.
It's the rule, the method.
I think it should be. I think McNichol method is a better way of describing it. Actually, the McNichol method works better. But I'm going to give you. I'm going to put my balls on the line here, and I'm going to put my credibility on the line, and I'm going to say, I'm going to give you the answer. I think I know the answer, and I think the answer is 6.
I am going to go 5.
I think technically speaking, it should be the McNichol rule, because the McNichol method, I would say, through history would probably be, I tell you what, we'll give it 20 minutes and we'll try again.
Right.
The rule sounds better.
Last question in the quiz. Right. What is, and again, listen carefully, it's quite funkily worded, this one. What is the only WrestleMania that did not feature a single team of wrestlers competing together? And by that I mean every single match on the card, every wrestler in those matches was on their own, fighting for themselves. Which is the only WrestleMania that did not feature a single team of wrestlers? And obviously, when I say team, that could mean any number of people on that team. What is the only WrestleMania that did not feature a single team of wrestlers competing together on the card?
I think that's well worded. That's fair. That's understandable. I don't have a clue, but it's it's well worded. It's a good question.
By the way, did we mention that the last 2 questions on the card, the wildcard questions, are bastard questions?
I think they've worked that one out. That's the Benson rule. Oh man, I did think today I probably should do a little bit of WrestleMania research for stuff like this, and I really didn't do it.
I'm just going through. There was an era in WWE history where tag team wrestling was really kind of just down and under and out of things, and I'm just trying to think.
I've got an answer which I'm not massively convinced about, but what I try and do in these sort of situations, if I don't know, I have to try and come up with something which I think is logical. So I have a logical answer, even if it might be wrong. Shall I go for mine, Paul?
Yeah, do it. Go for it.
I think it might be WrestleMania 4.
I am going to say, without much confidence, I'm going to say WrestleMania 2000.
Oh God, that was nothing but tag team matches, Dean.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
That was that was famous for not having a single male single match.
Report from a guy, a blue tick verified guy on Twitter, says the rain has picked up again and there is thunder and lightning in the area of Raymond James Stadium.
That's good, though. That means it might hit now and be okay later.
Yeah. That was always planned. To be fair, it was always planned to be. The forecast was always going to be until about an hour before. It was
about
going to thunder and lightning. Yeah. Anyway, let's do our last 5 answers. So I'm starting this one, aren't I? So let me just pull the question up with, what was it? Question number 30. What?
36.
Hang on. 36. Sorry. I'm just there. Right. WrestleMania 36. Hate this WrestleMania. Only one main roster championship was not defended at the event. Rob said Intercontinental. Dean said the US. Dean was right. It was the US Championship, which was held at the time by Andrade, who was injured. Everything else got defended.
He had a hell of a run in the WWE, didn't he, poor fella?
Oh, yeah, he really, really did. Right, so WrestleMania 37, Part 1. Sarah's asking why Hogan got booed last night. Probably because he's a racist. And he was there with a token black man. Right, Rob, WrestleMania 37, Part 1.
So we were taking timings from Jason Powell's ProWrestling.net.
I think I know the answer to this one. I got this wrong.
The reason I took it from Jason Powell's ProWrestling.net is because that's what Wikipedia has taken it from, and so it's the easiest way to look at it. But I didn't want to tell you where I'd got it from on Wikipedia because you could just go look. But according to them, the longest match, and it wasn't by much, it was by about 68 seconds and 77 seconds. The longest match of last night was Bobby Lashley versus Drew McIntyre.
I wasn't sure. I think they all felt very similar. And by the way, how old did Hulk Hogan look last night? He looked like my Auntie Mabel.
I didn't look as old as Scott Hall.
God, but that was just tragic, wasn't it? That just
Scott Hall just pissed though?
No, he just looked really old. It really sad.
He looked pissed to me.
Right, so my question, tonight's main event, Roman Reigns, Daniel Bryan, and Edge. They'll be in the main event together tonight. What is their combined number of WrestleMania main events together? Rob said 6. Dean said 5. One of the two is right.
I actually think no. I'm thinking Roman Reigns, I'm sure, has had 4. Daniel Bryan's had 1. That makes 5. No, I said 7. Didn't I? I said 7 because I can think of one that Edge had, and then I'm thinking I've probably forgotten one, so I would have added on to make it 7.
Well, that's interesting because Dean's working is the same as mine, but he's used the McNichol rule and I haven't.
Well, exactly. Coulda, woulda, shoulda. Rob's right. 6.
Oh man!
Don't use my rule. Don't use my rule. I'm an idiot.
4 for Reigns, 1 for Edge, 1 for Daniel Bryan. 6 is the total. Rob, let's have your wildcard question.
How many wrestlers have wrestled The Undertaker at WrestleMania but have never been a world champion? I think Dean said 5 and Paul said 6.
Yeah.
So
well,
Dean,
I'm thinking
let's have your 5.
Yeah, I'm thinking he's got his first 4 opponents right in the early days. So Jimmy Snuka, Jake Roberts, Giant Gonzalez, and I think King Kong Bundy was next. So that makes 4. And then again, using the McNichol rule, there's probably someone I've forgotten to add on to make it 5.
Okay. Of the 4 that Dean has mentioned, they are all correct, but there are more. Paul, any to add to those 4?
Yeah, the 2 more I'd added are the Big Boss Man and A-Train.
A-Train.
Both of which are correct. But you should have done the McNichol rule.
Is there one more?
Because there is one more, and his name is Shane McMahon.
Oh, I was there. Bollocks.
To be clear, folks, there was 7. Oh, hang on. Snooker,
Adam,
Bundy, Bossman, A-Train, and Shane. That is correct from my forward.
Adam, how can it possibly be Sid when he beat Sid for the World Championship in that match? Yeah, and Neil's actually right. Dinah Hart is still quite strong. When we had her on for SummerSlam last year, I was quite compelled by how good looking she still was. But anyway, 7 it is. Right. I can't believe I missed Shane McMahon. That's really annoying. Okay, my wildcard question. What is the only WrestleMania that did not feature a single tag team, i.e. every wrestler that was on the card was in it for themselves? Dean said...
I said WrestleMania 2000, which I'm now going to look up to see how many tag matches are on there. Oh, God, it was a lot.
Pretty much all of them. Rob said 4. There was at least 1, the Islanders against the British Bulldogs. At WrestleMania 4. The actual answer...
thought it was the tournament. I thought there was a chance there was just a tournament. So
the actual answer was Rob's favourite WrestleMania. WrestleMania 21. Not a single tag team to be had. They were all singles matches apart from the Money in the Bank. And they were obviously all in it for themselves as well. There was no tag teams in there. So every single wrestler on that event was in it for themselves.
And you probably wrote that knowing that that's my favourite Mania as well. So, well,
no, I didn't. I did not do that. I didn't. I don't know what made me wrote that, but it was 21. So, right, that's the end of the quiz. So, but it's not the end of the bonus points. We need our man Hatchamania in, who we've kept up way too late tonight. So, sorry, Hatch, you've been the victim of our rambling tonight.
It's all good. It's not like I'm staying up for anything else, is it? So. Right, these final bonus points of the quiz. We've got Adam Fran 3, Darren Wilkes 2, Lee Lower 2, Mick Conley 2, David Reed 1, Jason Butler 1, Josh Chapman 1, Will Kitchen 1, Mark Stewart 1, and Paul Spence 1. That's Adam Fran 3, Darren Wilkes 2, Lee Lower 2, Mick Conley 2, David Reed 1, Jason Butler 1, Josh Chapman 1, Will Kitchen 1, Mark Stewart 1, and Paul Spence 1.
Fantastic. Right. Well, that marks the official end of our ultimate WrestleMania live quiz. Give us your scores, including your bonuses in the chat. Because technically that's out of 80. It's out of 80 tonight because you could technically have got 40 bonus points. So let's see some of the scores there. First of all, thank you so much for playing with us all tonight. Like we like I say, we've been doing this a year and we love doing this. We absolutely adore doing this because we're all wrestling geeks and we're all friendly chaps. So we love dedicating our Sunday nights to wrestling trivia, but we still appreciate you all playing along with us because it just means so much. Like we've cultivated a little friendship group here that will become a friendship group going forward in real life or whatever else. And tonight, I think we've brought in a few more to that. So that's absolutely awesome. Chris. Hey, Chris. I've got to say about Chris, I wasn't going to say this actually, but I'm going to say it. In April, I made a massive boo-boo. And the minute the Last Ride documentary finished, I tweeted and Facebooked about the Undertaker retiring. Literally the second after, I had the article written out because I thought it was going to happen. I got well ahead of myself. And Chris sent me an extremely abusive message about spoiling it for him, which took me back, took me aback. So I did the grown-up thing at that point and sent him an extremely abusive message back, which was not really that professional or profound or anything else. But what normal Facebook interactions would have then devolved into is I'd have called his mother a whore and he'd have called me a complete, absolute awful random person or something along those lines. But what actually happened is we came together and we chatted about it and we realized I was wrong for doing what I did. He was wrong for reacting the way he did. And we've become firm friends ever since. And Chris sent me a wonderful box of American snacks that I've been munching on all weekend. So that is the power. The reason I'm saying this is not to say thank you to Chris. It is to say thank you to Chris in a way, but it's more to say that is the power of people actually having fucking conversations.
It's the power of positivity, Benson.
And actually talking over their differences rather than just absolutely slagging each other off and going to the nth degree. When you have actually conversations about your differences and your problems with each other, good shit happens. So that's what I'm saying. And that's what is illustrated with a Lucky Charms bar. And that's why Chris is my man of the year in that. He's really taught me a really good lesson. But we've got one more prize to give away before the end of our quiz and start. We've got a special guest here, by the way, who's going to join us for our retrospective. Justin, we see you, man. So just give us a couple more minutes and we'll be there.
Guys, I need to just drop off for 1 second. If someone can just whip me off, and I'll be back soon.
I'm not whipping you off. Someone else can do it.
Right, I'll always whip Dean off. So we've got one more. We've got our Intercontinental Championship belt to give away, and the winner of our final prize of the evening, drawn randomly this time rather than on some arbitrary method, is David Reed. David Reed wins our Intercontinental Championship mini belt. So thank you very much. So I'm just looking at the scores for the quiz, and I see the best one being Jack. I think Jack's come in and usurped all you regulars. I think he's done you all. And he's got 51 out of 80, which is a bloody good score. And you're right, Chris, those other 3 C's will want sweets now, but I'll deal with that. Don't you worry about that. So yeah, 51 is the winning score. That's pretty damn good score. So
sorry,
that's the end of the...
I have to address this from Chris. Why would 3 Count want sweets? He's talking about the WCW tag team, right?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Right, that is the end of our quiz tonight. That is the end of the Ultimate WrestleMania live quiz. Please give us your feedback. Please tell us what you thought of it, because we've had Jason Butler as the winning score. Not Justin Butler, Jason Butler is the winner tonight. Unfortunately, Jason, we give no prize for winning apart from our massive respect and kudos. And hopefully you come back next Sunday. But we've done the quiz now. That was great. We've enjoyed it immensely. We want you to stick around now for our WrestleMania review preview. I'm going to bring in a good friend of mine now who's got some. We've had some conversations about WrestleMania, and I've wanted to bring him in to give an alternate perspective on everything that happened last night. And Rob, I'm going to drop you in it now, mate. Would you mind sort of marshalling this discussion? Would you mind being our anchor for this, because you're the best at this? So get your Pringles out your mouth. I'm going to bring in Wrestling Travels Justin Clapper now, and Justin knows Chris very well because they've been very intimately involved at a previous WrestleMania.
I've shared a room with Chris, which is more than most people can say. But how are you guys doing?
I'm good, my friend. How are you?
Good, man. Hanging in there. The best time of the year, WrestleMania. So excited. I have taken part in your quiz one time. I was just catching the tail end of it, and I think my internet connection is really slow, or Chris just doesn't accept my answers the last time I did it.
Well, we thank you for joining us for this, and we also thank you in advance for sharing some horrendous secrets about Chris's bedtime habits, because Sarah won't tell us. Sarah won't share them with us, so hopefully you will.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll get to it. Yeah, as long as you know what, Chris can share mine. Mine was perfect. I had great bedside manner.
Fantastic. Right. Well, I am going to turn over to Rob to chair this discussion in a little while. But what I'll start by saying is that WrestleMania took place like last night. Obviously, WrestleMania night 1, a really unique WrestleMania in a lot of ways. That it's very different for all of us. We've come from a WrestleMania last year that for most of us represented a real low point. For some, that was the opposite, which is fantastic. But represent a real low point in life and wrestling in general. And we've had a year of complete craziness, not understanding what the wrestling business is, not necessarily being able to relate to it because of the lack of fans and everything else. And now we're back. Fans were back last night, and WrestleMania was back. WrestleMania was back in business, as they kept telling us. And what I want to do tonight is I want to go through it theme by theme, match by match, and talk about it, because I think there's so much to talk about last night that isn't necessarily related to. I don't want to sit there and rate the matches. I don't want to say this was a 3-star match, this was a 2-star match, and these guys should have held the armbar longer. I want to talk about what every match meant, because I think every single match, apart from maybe one or two, had a real sort of great talking point that's wider than what a wrestling match is. So I want to go through those, if that's all right, guys. Do you mind? Can we do that tonight?
Good with me.
Awesome. So, Rob, I am going to turn it over to you. I'm just going to go for a very quick toilet break while we get started. But, Rob, if you wouldn't mind just addressing WrestleMania as a whole, yeah. So, or do you want me to do it?
No, it's okay. I just like the idea that it was there. I thought you've been very deferential to me and suggesting I'm the best man for the job, and basically it's because you need the loo. But that's okay. So we'll be back in a minute. So yeah, feel free, by the way, everyone that's still with us. There's a few people still with us. To throw in your opinions on WrestleMania from last night, whether general, whether specific when we get on to certain matches, or not. But let's start by having a little look at our overall feelings. I don't like doing a star system or a number out of 10 or anything like that. So we can be broader rather than just throwing a number on it. But how did we feel about it? How did we come away thinking? Was it good, bad, indifferent? What do you think? Starting with you, Justin.
Oh man, I'm on fire this time of year. The fact, like Paul said, bringing fans back is huge. I'm in Wisconsin here in the States, and we've had fans back since last June. Of course, I covered Warrior Wrestling in Chicago, kind of setting up the blueprint for bringing fans back to an outdoor stadium, socially distanced. But seeing it on the television, where it's not just the guys from the PC, but it's actual fans, that was amazing. Even leading up to keeping track on social media, is a lot of my brothers were down there wrestling at different shows and stuff. But just the overall excitement, really, like, you can't compare it like last year. Now this year, it just seems like it was extra special. It feels like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And I know there's a lot of people that are going to be have a different opinion with the fans. But man, I'm not going to give you that number system like you were saying. Let's not do it. But overall, very excited and very happy with everything. So that might make me jaded on some of the matches just because I was excited to see fans back at WWE. But overall, fantastic.
Chris?
If we take that WrestleMania is about moments, the two bits I would say they got absolutely right last night were the first moment and the last moment. The finish, the end of the main event was exactly what you wanted the feel of the end of a main event to be, especially the first one back in front of fans. And opening the show with everyone on the stage with Vince McMahon was, for me, the right feel to kick things off. I'm not saying there weren't great moments throughout the show, but they set the tone for the start and the finish, and that's what made the most of it for me.
Yeah, I think that as far as the opening bit went with Vince and everyone on the stage, I'm normally someone that will be pretty stridently anti anything that appears to be. I don't like using the terms like breaking kayfabe, but I like it to stay in the universe. And I don't mean that in the WWE universe sense, but stay in that wheelhouse of, if anything that's on TV is canon, you shouldn't be breaking. I don't even like them breaking character for adverts and anything like that. But it did feel appropriate last night. If you're ever going to do it, it did feel the right time to start off. It was almost like that little, wink to the camera or something like that about it. So I agree with that. Of course, Chris and I and Adam Pearson, for most of the night last night, were doing a bit of a watch-along style thing. So I had it on mute. I didn't see a lot of the matches with commentary and with sound. I watched the last match, the Bianca Belair versus Sasha Banks match with sound, and I actually thought it sounded a little bit like the audience was dubbed a little bit. I wasn't completely certain whether it was real sound or whether they were piping stuff. So other people will be able to tell me better about how it was like all night. But in terms of the actual match action, I was quite impressed. I thought it was better than I expected it to be. Let's quickly go round and do a favourite match and why. I'll start with Dean. What did you think?
Favorite match last night for me, I absolutely loved Rollins v Cesaro. I mean, I think both of them are excellent wrestlers. I can watch them wrestle all night. I loved that match.
Paul?
Boringly, I concur. I think in terms of the emotions all night, the problem was the emotions were quite flat. I thought there was no highs and lows of an event. You really need these events to take you on a ride, especially WrestleMania. And that didn't really happen for me last night. But in terms of match quality, I would say that was the one, especially the last 5 minutes of the match. It was fantastic.
And anyone got a different opinion to that, or any other different matches you want to talk about?
I'll go different for you right now. I'll go way out of my comfort zone. When they bring celebrities into WrestleMania or anything, it's tough. The one that I was very first impressed with was when they brought in Lawrence Taylor, and I thought that was just going to be a crap match, but Bigelow carried him in that whole way. But watching Bad Bunny, knowing that he's in the ring with The Miz and Morrison and not Luis, I can't say his name, Damian Priest, knowing that he was in there with some great company and watching the level of respect that he has for our business and the amount of, if you watch the moves, that tornado DDT, the Canadian Destroyer and all that stuff, all very safe moves, where the one that's receiving it is actually controlling the move. And I thought they did a great job certainly did a better job catching Bad Bunny than Bobby Lashley and MVP did of catching Drew McIntyre.
But I've got to say that watching that match, I thought Miz was absolutely phenomenal. And I know he gets a lot of heat from people online, and I would just say if people still don't like Miz, then, and I'm going to sound like a bit of a prick here, but I stand by every word of it. If you think Miz is crap, you don't know how wrestling works, because he was just feeding into Bad Bunny and making that whole thing flow. And as someone who has had literally a handful of wrestling matches throughout my life and quite happily admit to being completely clueless in the ring, I can tell you the value of having a good, safe hand who can steer you through. And as you said, the passion that Bad Bunny had for what he was doing, and clearly the time and the effort he'd put into studying and training, was a tremendous match.
Yeah,
I agree with you 100%.
I agree. It was so much better than people anticipated. I'm gonna. By the way, Francis just had a really good question about the takeaway from doing 2 nights. I definitely want. To me, 2 Night Mania is a really interesting discussion that I want us all to have. I just wanted to say about the overall event, and I'd love to know the guys' opinions on this, because I've not talked to any of them. I thought WrestleMania last night, we'd really built it up in our minds, hadn't we? As the comeback of fans, there were some great matches on the card. To me, it felt like a fantastic backlash. Right? There were no moments or matches or anything that kind of made it WrestleMania-y. It lacked a bit of WrestleMania essence. It lacked the magic. It was a really good. If that pay-per-view had been slapped with the Backlash label last night, we'd have all come out of that saying that was an excellent wrestling pay-per-view. To me, it lacked something as a WrestleMania. I'm not sure what. And I might be being harsh. Please tell me if I am. But I really thought that it felt like a warm-up for tonight. Is that fair to say, or am I being cynical?
No, I think you're absolutely spot on. Like I said while you were in the loop, I saw it as a start and a finish. They got the opening right, they got the end right. In between, there were good matches. I'm not saying that the majority of the matches on the card were very good matches, but there wasn't here's a real spark. You know you're watching WrestleMania now. Bad Bunny probably gets that because A, great match, and B, the celebrity status, but it felt like it was there rather than there. And there were a few bits like that. And yeah, it just didn't spark quite the same way, but they got the notes they needed to from the start and end.
My absolute favorite moment wasn't a single wrestling move. It wasn't anything wrestling. It was when Sasha and Bianca Belair were facing each other at the start of the match, and Bianca Belair lost it. And her emotions got the better of her. And to me, that sold WrestleMania more than anything anybody else did on the card, because she was in the main event of WrestleMania and she couldn't quite keep it together. And to me, that made WrestleMania a bigger deal, and it made her a bigger deal, because we can all relate to that, can't we? Like all 5 guys here and everyone listening to us tonight can relate to that moment where the moment we're in gets a bit too big for us. And it's just, and it just overwhelms us a little bit, temporarily or permanently or whatever. But Bianca Belair, I've never seen it happen to a WrestleMania main eventer before. Like, the moment overwhelmed her. And 10 years ago, she'd have got her ass chewed out by the top brass back when she'd finished, because she dropped her guard. But last night, I think that sold WrestleMania more than anything else anybody did on the night.
And I think the difference is that now we, or the WWE, because of social media, and I've made this point before, they want to see the real person behind the character. So you don't just see Sasha Banks. You go online and her Twitter account is Mercedes. I can't remember her surname, but it's her real name, and a lot of people are doing that, and that is something that is different to, say, 10 years ago. But the thing I found, I don't know what the rest of you guys think, is that given the return of a crowd was such a big deal, and I know obviously they didn't fill the stadium for obvious reasons, but the miking of the crowd, it just, the whole night, the sound sounded quiet to me. The entrance music, the crowd, and that to me is part of WrestleMania, especially because I have really struggled to watch wrestling for any company without a crowd. I find it so difficult, and I was really looking forward to seeing this with a crowd, and just seeing people like in the background definitely helps, but there wasn't that big amount of noise. I don't think they went old school WCW, Paul. They didn't mic the crowd up right.
Well, I wanted to ask Justin on this because you've been involved, haven't you, Justin, in a lot of these GCW events and everything else since the pandemic's hit. Like, what's your take on how that's been working the last few months and how important it is and how people have got around it? Like, literally open forum now. Look, you're in a unique opinion on this we've not heard before.
On the crowd noise.
Just generally, the crowd noise in one, but just generally how people have reacted to wrestling without the usual situations.
Well, I think what we've always known, those of us, and Dean, I had no idea that you've been trained and had some matches underneath you, so that's awesome. So you're coming at it from the same aspect as I am. But having the crowd back, we've all realized what Dean and I have known is the crowd is part of the show. The crowd is part of that. I'm old school. I'm not going to say performance, but they're part of that event. What we all know and we may not realize is that crowd was at least twice told to evacuate that stadium.
Yeah.
And come back. So you don't have that crowd coming in and then all of a sudden, boom, kicking it off with everybody, like Chris said on TV. That's awesome with McMahon there. And everybody, it's probably the energy level is up. And then we come down and now we've got that first event. And it was just, if you guys have been to a WrestleMania or a show longer than 3 hours, it's very difficult as a crowd to keep that energy up. So I think evacuating the stadium a couple times, which may happen tonight as well, takes a lot of the wind out of the sails of that crowd. But yeah, Warrior Wrestling, when we had 500 people there on August 7th, was the biggest crowd at a North American wrestling show since that pandemic had started. And that crowd, that energy, you could feel it. It was something special spread out in the stadium. I don't know if that quite translates on the Fight TV, but being there live and seeing it, there's an energy of that crowd. So there may have been that energy there, and we might not have felt it.
You've absolutely hit the nail on the head there. It does. And just to be completely sort of obvious, it doesn't translate, and it feels the energy in the crowd's incredible because everyone's so pleased to be there and happy. But when you've got pods of fans spread out around, it's just pure acoustics, isn't it? It's not any reflection on the quality of the show or the enthusiasm of the crowd. If you're not one whole organism as a crowd, the noise dissipates, and it just doesn't feel. We're used to seeing wrestling fans, whether it's 2,000 people in a bowl or whether it's 100,000 people at WrestleMania, where you've seen a block of sound, aren't we? And wrestling companies are absolutely expert at manipulating a crowd's sort of makeup to ensure that they look the best on TV and sound the best on TV. And they've just not been able to do that in these, like you say, 500 people. If you'd have been given carte blanche to make those 500 people stand where you wanted them to and sound how you wanted them to, I bet they could have sounded a hell of a lot better than they did in that moment. And the same with 25,000 people last night. I agree with Dean completely. It felt like a New Japan show. And I don't mean that with any disrespect to New Japan. It's just a very different way of doing things. And a WrestleMania shouldn't sound like a New Japan show. It should sound like a bloody WrestleMania. But it was just
also, I think, sorry, Paul, I think the point Justin made about and I hadn't even thought of that, about the crowd having to go in, come out, go in, come out, makes such a difference, because it isn't just about the numbers. It's about the response of the individuals. And I'm sure you've done this, and I'm sure Chris will have the same thing, where I have worked shows in front of a crowd of 28 people where I've enjoyed it more and had a better reaction from those 28 people than 500 people. It just depends on the makeup of that that group. And I think when you've got that feeling in the room, I guess it then kind of has an impact. It sweeps across the room.
So, if you don't mind, guys, let's talk about individual matches now. And let's go back to Rob for this one. Talk us through the first match, Rob. Talk us through your feelings on...
I thought it was the best match on the show. I thought it was absolutely outstanding. I will admit part of my feeling probably comes from the fact that I'm not really watching wrestling at the moment. I'm not really following the week-to-week storylines. And I'm just not quite as sold on Drew McIntyre as most people, probably because I'm not watching it every week and I'm not investing in him like others are. I know there's at least 2 people in this room, there may be more, that know Drew, have worked with Drew, like him and were cheering for him, and invested as a fan. I didn't care who won, so therefore it probably didn't matter to me so much that he lost. That does make a difference if you're invested or if you're not. But I looked at these two. I've never been a Bobby Lashley fan. I've always thought he's been looks great, but bland as hell. Lovely fella who I've met, but boring to watch, frankly. And I'm not a big Drew guy. And considering that, I thought it really lived up. I thought they had a hard-hitting, realistic-looking fight. The heel won through a little bit of shenanigans from his manager. MVP might be the revelation of the last 2 years, how he's come from nowhere, from being in the Rumble a year or 2 ago to now being the manager of the world champion. You wouldn't have seen that coming, I don't think, but it's understandable. He's so talented. I thought the match was absolutely excellent. And if the suggestion is that I've read the direction might be Bobby Lashley keeping the title because that's where they go with Brock Lesnar, makes sense to me.
Well, that's a question I just see in the comments. Yeah, Josh Chapman has said, do you think the Lashley win could be a little indication that a certain beast may be ready to return? So he's obviously talking about Lesnar there. And then you've got a matchup of people with legit MMA backgrounds as well. And that in itself would give a great match storyline where the usual MMA offense of Lesnar could be countered by Lashley knowing what to expect and knowing how to counter. So that is a very good point that Josh makes.
I just thought the whole presentation was really smart because we all assumed that Lashley was there as a patsy for Drew McIntyre taking the title back in the main event at WrestleMania. I say we all. I'm talking for myself there, and I'm putting words in people's mouths.
No, I agree.
Yeah, but as the event drew closer, and you realised that was the perfect opening match, then you realised there was then the opportunity to do something a bit different. And Lashley's been to me Lashley's been made in the last 6 months. He's been phenomenal. He's been great, but taking the title off him after a month was never ideal. They didn't do that. They kept it on him. And do you know what the best thing was? Well, you all know what the best thing was. He won clean. I know there was a little bit of a distraction from MVP, but not really. It was clean. It was clean.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. That's not
MVP said a word. MVP said one word.
No, I'd say for 2020 standards, it was clean. It wasn't like MVP getting on the apron or hitting him with something. But
he didn't even move. It was clean.
Absolutely not the definition of winning clean. There was a distraction from the. Winning clean means nothing happens. He had the distraction from. By the way, it was the right finish, but that's not winning clean. That's the heel doing something slightly sneaky to get the benefit, which is the right booking.
Cleanish.
Whichever way you want to look at it, Lashley looked really strong.
Yeah,
coming out of it, and that was the right thing to do. He made Drew pass out, and that made Lashley look great. And it didn't really diminish from Drew, did it, Justin? It made Drew looks just as strong going to that event as he did before, right?
Yeah, he does. The only thing is that was a weak ass distraction, like for somebody of the Drew McIntyre, caliber. But yeah, I mean, he doesn't lose anything. He had his moment, and it was a surprise because most of the internet smart guys were going with, they're putting the title on Lashley because Drew's going to get his moment in the sun in front of crowds and this and that. And then the WWE, I'm happy, went the direction that they did.
I'm still massively convinced that this whole play is for Drew to walk away from Lashley, walk away from Raw, walk away from the WWE Championship. And in the summer, or maybe even next WrestleMania or whenever, the next guy to beat Roman Reigns for that championship will be Drew McIntyre on British soil. And that is the absolute right thing to do. The relationship, and Justin, you probably don't appreciate it. You might do because you work with Wrestling Travel, but I'm not sure how close you are to all this. But for years, WWE have been related to Sky Sports in the UK. It's been literally since the 1987 or 88. They've been on Sky Sports. It was only the first part of, what was it, January 2020 that changed?
Yeah.
And they moved to BT Sport, which is like the second tier. It's like the tier down. But the difference is BT Sport, and I used to work with BT Sport. I used to do a lot with UFC with them, but they have been so keen to trumpet WWE. Sky Sports always hid them away, right? When you got Sky Sports over, it was all about the Premier League, rugby, cricket, even NFL in latter years. Not once did you ever see a WWE advert on Sky Sports, even though they built Sky Sports. It was wrestling allowed Sky Sports to exist. They never acknowledged them. They were on BT Sport for no amount of time, and suddenly they're trumping them from the hilltops. They've got murals all over London and Glasgow about WrestleMania. It's a real different relationship. So I think that they want to pay that back. I think they want to make sure that they're in this unique moment where they've got the biggest star in the company genuinely is British. And it's not forced. He's an amazing wrestler. And you've got the heel, Roman Reigns, that is unbeatable. You put them in front of a 70,000 capacity crowd in Edinburgh, and you've got not just a moment for British fans, but you've got one of the biggest moments in wrestling history. As a non-Brit, am I exaggerating that genuinely, or is that fair?
No, that's going to be a huge moment, because I know every time that when I was doing my podcast, everybody that I had on from across the pond is just Drew McIntyre. And essentially that is going to be, look at the moment with Davey Boy and Brett in Wembley. How great that was. You were there.
Yep.
Fantastic.
Yep. Same here.
You were there. That was one of the things I would have loved to have been at, because that's one of those iconic crowds, like The Rock, Hogan, and stuff like that. So if you can repeat,
for that too. I've been
there for that. Look at this guy; he's hogging everything. He's been everywhere. So that's the that would be the be all end all. I mean, do you have a 70,000 capacity in Glasgow?
Yeah,
that place would go absolutely nuts.
Well, you got Hampden Park in Edinburgh. You've got, I guess you got the Ibrox. Sorry, is that Glasgow? I beg your pardon. Or you've got, I know Drew would love it.
Murrayfield in Edinburgh.
I'm thinking Murrayfield. Or I know Drew would absolutely love it if it was at Ibrox. But I don't know how many that holds, but it's a pretty big stadium.
Ibrox isn't amazing. Ibrox is only about 45,000.
Yeah,
but
then the problem you have with somewhere like Hampden Park with a stadium is obviously the Scottish weather. So then that pushes you towards the Hydro, which is a pretty big venue.
To forget the weather. It's, for starters, if there's going to be a wrestling event in the UK, it has to be SummerSlam. And secondly, if it's going to be in Scotland, it has to be Murrayfield, because you can't have an event in Glasgow because it's just too partisan. It has to be Murrayfield or Wembley. Like Drew McIntyre would go down so well in Wembley as well. But anyway, we digress.
What do you mean Glasgow's too partisan?
Well, you can't have it at Ibrox.
Well, you have it at Hampden.
Yeah, that's fine, but it's not big enough, is it?
50,000?
Not big enough.
Murrayfield's about 60.
I thought it was about 80.
No. Murrayfield's about 70,000, I think.
Oh, I'll split the difference.
I just said 60 in a bit, but I'm not sure. And I'm not sure what you can hold differently in a wrestling show compared to football right enough.
Yeah.
You might be able to hold more for wrestling because you can sit on the pitch.
So let's go. All right, let's move on from Drew and Lashley, and let's talk wrestling, right? Let's talk Cesaro against Seth Rollins, right? And look, everyone's eyes light up. Everyone in the chat's like, everyone in this room's light up. But I want to talk to Chris about this specifically, right? Because Chris has been very quiet on this chat, and this is Chris's areas of expertise. Chris, Cesaro, Seth Rollins.
So
I don't want to know. It was a great match. It was a very good match. What does this mean? What does this mean for the two guys coming out of it?
Seth loses nothing. Seth loses absolutely nothing. Cesaro, this is his step up. I know it's a singles mania debut. This is hopefully his step up. How far up the card he can go with the level of people at the moment, I don't know. The comment we made on the when we were doing a bit of the watch along last night was, they've come out the blocks a bit quick on this. Is this going to be really short? And then it wasn't short. It was just a really, really good, fast-paced but technical, solid match. And they just hit all the right notes. And I think that's why both men just come out on top on this.
How great was that UFO?
Mm.
How? I've not seen that since he did that in Ring of Honor, like 15 years ago. By UFO, guys, sorry, I know that's not a term that everyone knows. Where he did the spin on his shoulders, no hands behind his back. I see Justin and Dean nodding their heads. They know it's happened. Like, that was it was Cesaro at his absolute best. I remember going to the O2 Arena with Rob and watching Cesaro when he just joined on the main roster, when he was still with not Asuka. What was her name? What was the Ukrainian girl's name? I can't remember her name. But Oksana. And he was presented as an ex-rugby player, because the Swiss are very famous for rugby, aren't they? Obviously.
Yeah.
And but just exceptionally good. Have you ever worked with Cesaro, Justin? Is that someone you've come across in your work?
Never came across him at all. But, been obviously Claudio and Chris Hero, knew about them long before the WWE. So no. But yeah, that was awesome. And the only thing is, he's gotten some opportunities, and it's not. It doesn't come down to him, but it's what do they do with him now? Like Chris said, that's that step up. Now they've done that in the past with him and some other guys. Now continue it. Let's go. The fans love him, and everybody who's in the know recognizes what a great professional wrestler that he is. So he was the one that was going to lose. Like Chris said, Rollins loses nothing because he's still, the Monday night, he's still the guy. But Cesaro, if you've noticed the last few years, will be kind of the it guy for the moment and then fade back in the it guy. But now let's give him the ball. Let's let him run with it, because it's what the fans want. And, if we're getting into what the fans want, the first 45 minutes, we let these guys run with promos and stuff. Now let's let some of these professional wrestlers run with the ball and see what happens. It won't happen. I'm not saying anything bad about Cesaro, but I mean, like, letting actual professional wrestlers run with the ball like Cesaro. It's going to depend on demographics and all these things that have gotten in the way of professional wrestling. But, Cesaro was, if he would have lost that match, that would have hurt him more than what happened.
Agreed.
And I think it's a real shame that Raw and SmackDown next week isn't going to have those traveling wrestling fans, because they would really get behind Cesaro. And I think, as you said, Justin, everyone knows what a talent the guy is. The only person that seems to not always be, or not be behind him is Vince, and the reason we've been told before is because English isn't his first language. He has a strong accent. He therefore isn't the greatest talker. And the simple solution to that is put someone like Paul Heyman in with him. Paul Heyman can stand there and tell everyone about how good Cesaro is. And
I think I might have tried that.
I think they might have before. Go back to it, because they gave up on it. But put Paul Heyman with him to do the talking, to hype him up, and Cesaro can back up all of those talking, all of those words with actions, and it would work, and it would help elevate him to that level, because he is such a good, reliable worker. He is someone who can wrestle any style at all. Try that again. I don't know if they'll wait and see what happens with Lesnar, if Lesnar comes back, but if not, because Paul Heyman's been without much to do for the last year or so, really.
Well, Mick makes a really good point there, in that how the hell did that not work before? It was absolute alchemy and it didn't work. But I'm gonna move on, and I'll tell you what I'm gonna do. Justin has to go soon. So Justin, first of all, mate, thank you very much for your time.
Thank
tonight.
you guys. Yeah.
But I want to ask before we start talking about what you're doing now. I just want to ask you one more thing, and I want to ask your opinion on one more thing, and that is Braun Strowman against Shane McMahon. I have been shitting on this match for about the last 5 weeks. It was actually really good, wasn't it? Do you agree or disagree?
Yeah, no, I liked it. I liked it because anytime that, Braun Strowman, a Wisconsin native, I got to support my boy, and Shane McMahon just doing it at a high level. I thought it was really good for what it was. They come out and beat the heck out of his leg, which is kind of giving them the opportunity for Shane to get a little bit of that upper hand because my thing was it was a rush to a steel cage match. And on your point earlier, and I forget, we kind of go fast here, when you said it was like a really good backlash, I feel that's what's kind of happening here. We're trying to please WWE. When I say we are trying to please the critics, the advertisers. So I do think what happens in modern professional wrestling or sports entertainment that the attention span is short. So things get kind of rushed. So obviously the steel cage match was because we had Elias and Riker. That was a rush to a steel cage match for me because they're obviously like, oh, there's interference there, but it didn't really do much. Obviously the steel cage was just there as a prop for Shane. But yeah, I thought the match was well done. I'm still trying to, rig in the cage there. I was really felt for McMahon when he had his hand through, and I'm like, is he going to remember to get his hand out of there before they do anything? I was worried, but no, it was well done. And, obviously Braun is up there for him to post off of to do the front bump off the cage. And it looks impressive and I like it, but the whole bullying thing is kind of, to me, just a little bit of a step down where they were, I get on like Billy Kay and stuff like that, where we're trying to, raise this to, I don't want to say like an attitude era, but I feel like sometimes we talk down to our audience in there in the WWE, but I love WWE. So great match.
I think we agree. I think we're all agreed on that. It's like we love it, but it's not beyond criticism at all. Because how do you bully a 6'4" monster? One minute he's the monster among men, and the next thing he's been bullied by putting green slime on his head. And I'll tell you what it was. It was and guys, Chris and Rob specifically, and Dean, you might not know this. The NFL did a presentation on Nickelodeon last year where they put one of their playoff games on Nickelodeon, and they had all sorts of graphics coming in like slime and like silliness and daft stuff. And I think that was the whole, this feud was like kind of their attempt to do the same thing and failed miserably, obviously. And Braun Strowman can't be bullied, but the end product was good. And I loved it. I love stuff that's unique. I love stuff that's never been seen before. When Shane climbed down the cage and put his hand through, and then Braun Strowman just went, fuck you, and just ripped the cage door in. I was like, that's one way of doing it. Bring him back in through the cage. I thought that was awesome. But Justin, you need to go, my friend. You've got a lot more commitments tonight. So I just want you to tell me what you're up to now. Tell us what you're doing. And I want you to plug away, my friend. Go be shameless. Be shameless.
Shameless plugging away is our packages for Dallas in 2022 and Los Angeles in 2023. Both those WrestleManias. Surprisingly, people are ready. People have been ready. The packages have been flying off the shelf. And if you come with Wrestling Travel, we take good care of you. I wish I could mention the special guests that I have going on coming. Yeah, Mr. Hatch and Hatch, who I shared a hotel room with. And I hate to do this live, but I have been missing 2 or 3 pairs of my underwear. So if you can just check your luggage. But and the one thing that I've been doing that I decided to do during the pandemic was, and I know everybody's become a podcaster or whatever. I don't consider myself a podcaster. I don't consider myself a journalist, but I do some interviews trying to help talent along the way. And I just dropped, to kind of coincide with coming on here, my interview with Mr. Bryan Clark, who you had on. So Mr. Adam Baum, what a great guy. So I just dropped that. It's like an hour and 13. Go to Wrestling Travels YouTube. Give us a subscribe. Give us a like if you can. Also, obviously Hooked on Wrestling. Give them a like and subscribe. But we do this for the fans. We do this for the talent. So if you're a fan of professional wrestling, you're going to see my interview as a little bit different than, say, your interview or anybody else's. And that's what I love, is that we're all, especially my brothers over there in the UK, we all come at these interviews a little bit differently from different perspectives. And I think if you're a fan of Adam Baum, Bryan Clark, watch Paul's interview, watch mine. And I think that you're not going to get the same old questions. You're going to get, 2 hours of power.
2 hours of power. That's the one. And I just want to say about Wrestling Travel, by the way, they are the most exciting organization. If you're going to go to WrestleMania, right? Let's be completely square. I'm a guy that travels well, right? I'm used to traveling. I'm used to booking my flights. I'm used to booking my hotels. I'm used to doing my thing. I do my thing. If you are not that guy and you want to go to WrestleMania, give Wrestling Travel the hookup. They will look after you. They will give you the absolute best experience. It's not just booking your flights. It's not just booking your hotels. It's not just booking your event tickets. They will give you the most insanely good experiences. I vouch for them 100%. And I just think, and I can't wait to go to my first Wrestling Travel, WrestleMania, actually. And Dean's the same, clearly.
I was going to say, let me just say this. I'm a lazy man, and getting someone else